Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
Lee's back.
Lee's back. And Dan's gone.
And Dan's not here.
Oh, no.
So we have Sean back again.
But with a face this week.
Yeah, I got the pop shield in the wrong place last week, so...
Yeah. Anybody who thought that Sean was just a black circle, incorrect.
So, Lee, you're back from your European tour.
Yes, I had fun. It was very nice.
Yeah. So does that mean now the European season's done, you'll be doing the flyaway holidays later on in the year?
I am doing the flyaway holidays later on during the year.
See?
Yep.
Amazing.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we've got a race to preview.
Someone in Florida, one of our listeners, needs to do some homework and hook me up with somewhere I can go and watch a race.
Not in
A
Florida.
bar, like, obviously. I'm not.
I know one of our listeners in Florida.
I'm not willing to get fingered by strangers.
No. Good listener. The Slow Greek lives in Florida.
The slow Greek.
Nick Patakis.
I would like a fast man.
He's got fast cars.
Oh, right, okay.
And Dave Daddario, our
Racing driver.
with the logo, he's in Florida.
Oh, right. Well,
We'll probably have many Floridians. Is that the right term? Floridians?
I
Gone all
It
Anchorman.
sounds good. It should be.
Isn't that what we're trying to stop happening to our water?
Fluoride.
Oh, God, can we just do the news instead?
Let's talk about news.
The first thing that we're going to have to talk about, even though you put it second on the running order, is Fernando.
Chris.
Okay, fair enough. Can
Well,
do.
Because that's the main thing that's happened this week.
Well, he's had a test.
He's had a test. He's killed a couple of birds,
Yeah.
vaporised a
It
couple of
happens.
birds.
It
Spectacularly.
Yeah,
Around about 230 miles an hour he was travelling at the time.
yeah. He looked pretty competitive in the Papaya IndyCar.
Yeah, it's not orange, it's papaya.
Papaya.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's orange. It's,
Papaya.
That-
Papaya's
Papaya.
fucking yellow.
No, I have a nail polish that's papaya, and it's a weird orangey
Is
pink.
it?
Yeah.
but no, that's the official title for the
Maybe you
for
just
the colour
eat a
of the
nasty
car.
papaya.
Sorry, I'm thinking papyrus.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, that's
that's yellow.
That's yellow.
We're on the fruit, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But on Wednesday he did his rookie orientation, which was 3 laps between 200 and 205, and then 3 between 205 and 210, and then 3 between 210 and 215, and he nailed all three on all 3 sessions on the first attempt.
Yeah.
It is IndyCar.
He was getting progressively quicker every lap as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something like the last Alex Rossi won, and his fastest lap was last year was 230, average of 230 miles an hour, and Fernando managed in his first run 222. So yeah, that's pretty good. And he looked happy getting out of a car for the first time since
When was the last race he won?
forever.
Well, he got out of the car and he meant to.
Yes.
True. He actually got to park, not just stop.
Yeah, I think I remember putting something on Twitter at the time saying that's the first time that Fernando's climbed out of a McLaren look or something with McLaren on, looking happy since 2008.
It'd be funny if Force of Habit just had him put the steering wheel back and throw his gloves into it.
Do whatever you want, mate. Oh no, hang on, that went well.
But it was it was a good sort of shakedown test for him, I think, and I think it's proved that he can be competitive if if the car can be competitive.
Well, the car's going to be competitive. I mean,
Don't forget Andretti won last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Mario Andretti has actually said he looks like he's been doing it for years already. He didn't look like, even though he was his rookie initiation, didn't look like he was a rookie. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing straight away.
yeah,
And it's not unheard of for rookies to win the Indy 500. Alex
happened
Rossi,
last
Alex
year.
Rossi did it
Yeah.
last year.
yeah, and there was it 2001? I think was the last one before that. Can't remember the name of the chap who won it, but yes,
Yeah, Nigel Mansell came down close in '93.
yeah.
He finished second in his first Indy 500. So no, it's definitely possible if the car holds together, because the Andretti team did have 5 DNFs at the last race.
Yeah.
Although at least 2 of those were caused by Max Chilton, who doesn't drive for their team. He just took 2 of their team out.
Did it really?
Yeah.
He seemed to think you could go 4 abreast through a corner.
That seems awfully exciting for Max Chilton, doesn't it?
I think what his engineers did was to try and make him go faster was they swapped the accelerator and brake pedals round.
Right.
So because he normally drives with his left foot down on the brake, they thought they'd swap him round. So he actually started speeding up and he didn't know what to do.
Interesting coulthard brake fact. the mechanics on Coulthard's McLaren, you without Coulthard knowing this, put a small dead zone on his brake pedal because he had a real bad habit of like just putting a little confidence brake in going into a corner. So they worked out where his little confidence brake was and put a dead zone into the pedal.
So he thought he was braking when he actually wasn't.
Yeah.
That's clever.
That's very clever.
That is very clever.
Fucking dangerous.
I have heard him talk, though, about sometimes as a driver you will ask an engineer to change some little tiny thing that they can see on the data has nothing to do with what is wrong with the car, and they'll just say, yeah, we've done that, mate, and they haven't.
I remember reading an article a few years ago about Alesi, and he spent something like 15 or 16 laps whinging about the little 1 centimetre high aero screen on the front of the cockpit, and it was the wrong height, and it should be a bit taller. Then they made it too tall, so could they take a little bit off? And after about five or six attempts at that, because he was getting too much updraft, not enough. And then the engineer said, "Yeah, I've got it to your exact specifications without changing it." Sent him out. Oh, that's the best it's been yet. And that was the lap. And he'd had the last 3 laps where he'd done nothing but complain about
Well,
it.
there was an interesting thing. I think it might be the only
Sports
interesting
psychology.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it is.
But there was one of the only interesting things to ever come out of the MotoGP commentary happened today. When they were talking about the tyres, and because we've spoke about this before, and they brought up about having the tyres like different colours for the compounds.
Yeah.
And they said that some of the riders don't want the tyres being different colours because they don't feel they've got any grip if they're not black.
But they were saying, I was listening to that
Yeah.
as well, and they were saying that actually you can do it very easily,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it makes no difference.
Yeah, it must be.
But they just don't like
psychosomatic.
it.
Yeah.
They feel like they got no grip if they're
Yeah.
not black.
Well, that's it. If they're not black, they're not rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're plastic, if they're
Yeah, but we were
Yellow.
talking, weren't we, in MotoGP, they can mix compounds.
Yeah.
Unlike
Yeah.
Formula 1, you can have like a soft rear tyre and a hard front tyre. If
You
you
can
want.
get like an asymmetric tyre as well, with harder on the
and
inside and softer on the
so
outside.
the contact
Yeah.
patch is harder. Contact patch is harder.
On a
and
clockwise
something,
circuit,
yeah.
you're very rarely on this.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The other thing about McLaren, though, that we've got down here is their simulator competition for e-racing.
They have been listening to us, and they have stolen an idea from Lee to benefit themselves more than anything. Again. They have...
Send them a bill.
send them a bill. Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
Send them an invoice.
Can we put together an
Have
invoice?
we had any decorating done by Lee Stevens? Decorating. Doesn't even say anything about paint. It just says Formula 1 consultation fees.
But they must be talking to lots of consultants at the moment with all their problems. They don't know.
Absolutely.
You could probably sneak a bill in and
Yeah.
they'd not notice it.
Well, it's not. I'm not advocating fraud here at all whatsoever. But they have stolen an idea from Lee. So basically, it's to the winner of the
Put button back in the car. Maybe that's the way to pay me back.
maybe that's what it is. They want somebody in their simulator program who is who shows the physical aspects as well as the mental aspects of a racing driver to be able to work in their simulator almost full time. And it's completely legitimate. They will be part of the McLaren team, and they need feedback from more simulators, more simulation work.
Yeah.
So they're running this esports competition thing.
I must say that
Now-
for all the good speak about it, it is bullshit. Because it ties in with their fucking Logitech.
Yes, I was going to say this is also a massive PR exercise because it ties in with their Logitech thing as well. They're running it across multiple platforms, and they've already decided who 6 of these drivers are going to be, which is bizarre. They're like, oh, we've got 6 candidates, but let's see if anybody else in the world can be as quick as them. And I think you'll end up with, is it 8 or 12? I can't remember. There's something like that.
It's some.
Yeah, some. And basically you'll be against 6 professional simulator racers who are, let's be honest, are more likely to win it than Joe Public.
Yeah.
So it's a massive PR thing to try and get McLaren's name looking good again in certain situations. Lee, what you doing?
He's eating the one massive rhubarb custard.
This is a biscuit eating podcast, not a sweet eating podcast.
Well, that's my fault. I brought them.
I mean, we've seen some potential for quality simulator drivers with some of the times that we've had in Formula League. from people.
Whoa.
Not you.
We've seen some potentially good video game players.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is how it starts. That's what they're looking at. They are going to be looking at Codemasters Formula One game.
Yeah, but let's face it, Formula One's Codemasters game is not exactly R Factor with all the assists turned off.
No, but they're also going to be looking at various racing games across various platforms. That's what they said.
I mean, look at the Nissan.
the GT Academy.
GT
Or whatever
Academy.
it's they
You know,
call it.
there are there's winners of that.
Yeah.
And people that qualified through that are now racing in touring cars and WEC.
No,
They
it's
do-
all-
they do
it's
a
all
whole
fun.
team.
It's all good fun. I just don't believe that anyone that wins is going to get a job at McLaren.
No, you're not going to end up on a McLaren because of this. But no, Nissan have done it for years. They enter a team into Le Mans.
Esports
Or-
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but esports is now a thing as well, isn't it? Was the esports not running alongside Formula E at the moment?
Yeah, because they have the
Formula esports.
the EE Pre.
Yeah. So you got the E Pre and the EE Pre.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking stupid way of running something because it happens at the same time as the race, doesn't it? So you can essentially race with what's going on track.
They've changed it now and they run separate E-Pre's the day before,
Right.
or EE-Pre's.
That makes sense because if you like Formula E enough to do it,
E
you're going to be fucking watching it.
Yeah, but if you like Formula E enough to do it, why are you watching motorsport?
Well, this is true.
We can take Formula E down as much as we want. Dan's not here this week.
This is true.
Even Dan stopped defending Formula E.
But, I without getting too much deep into the conversation, they should be further down the road with the development of that discipline than they are. And
Yeah, but
they
they
really
can't get
aren't.
all that far down the road. They don't have the power
Correct.
or the entertainment value. Next thing we've got
Or the
is
drivers.
still got Jean-Eric Vergne.
If he was good enough to be in Formula 1, he'd still be there.
Yeah, right.
I think
They-
he is
they-
good enough to be in Formula One.
They seem to be
Or
very
was.
excited to have Esteban
Gutierrez.
Esteban Gutierrez, which
Who managed to
the
score
least
po-
exciting man ever.
Yeah, he scored points in his first Formula E
Good
race.
for him, didn't we all?
I think it says more about Formula E than it does about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's because everybody wipes themselves out. We'll be seeing Max Chilton in a Formula E car very soon. It's about his level.
Oh, he seems to be getting on well enough, doesn't he?
Taking all the other drivers out in IndyCar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine if Chilton takes Alonso out in the 500.
I always imagined him being like semi-professional.
So, NASCAR then. No, Roman Grosjean. We'll talk about him instead. He has just become the head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association.
Well, he's become a director along with Sebastian Vettel.
Yes.
But he's taken Jensen Button's place.
Yes. Because Jensen's no longer a Grand Prix driver. But then neither is Alex Wirtz, so I don't know why he's the chairman of the
I just don't think
GPDA.
Jensen wants to do it anymore.
Probably. He's too busy sitting around in California having a great time if you look at his social media.
Yeah, Alex
I don't
Wirtz does
think
at
so.
least seem to be at most races generally.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
usually see
he's-
him knocking around somewhere,
He
whereas
still
Jensen
turns
is
up.
not.
Jensen just sort of, if he hasn't got his feet up, he's doing a triathlon.
Yeah, so we... I looked at an article, I think it was a BBC article that was explaining as, you know, they had a meeting in Russia and the Grand Prix Drivers Association, which is all the drivers, got together and they decided to vote Romain Grosjean in as a director of the GPDA. Now, I was a bit confused at that, and I was even more confused when I read that Grosjean is one of the most experienced Formula One drivers on the grid. And I was like, no, surely not. I had a look at the finishes from the last race, and it was only Hamilton, Vettel, Raikkonen, and Massa, I think it was.
And Alonso.
And Alonso. The only 5 drivers more experienced than Romain Grosjean.
So here's a question for you then. Does this mean one of two things? That after Sebastian Vettel, there was a massive youth movement in Formula One where everybody tried to sign the next Vettel?
And they found Max Verstappen.
Yeah. Or is it that, and does the financial burden of Formula One on teams having to pay drivers in simply mean that the stars aren't getting through? That, you know, the guys that would come into Formula One and have 15-year careers.
Yeah, rather than sort of be a pay driver and sort of stick around like Felipe Nasr, for example. You know, he's probably got quite a lot of talent, but he never got to show it because he was never in a good car. Yeah, that is.
I mean, let's face it. Look at the guys that you think are the best guys on the grid at the minute. I mean, if you take I think you can almost take Red Bull out of this because when you put that many drivers through Formula One, you're going to get a couple of good ones somewhere. But if you look at the likes of Vettel, Hamilton, Alonso
yeah.
as your top 3 drivers on the grid right now, they're the guys that have been around the longest.
They are.
Yeah, or they're thereabouts anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, Raikkonen had a couple of years off, didn't he? And,
Yeah.
and then sort of came back. I don't know if he had much backing. Hamilton, of course, had backing from Mercedes and McLaren.
From the age of, what, about 14?
Yeah, something like that, 13, 14. And I don't know an awful
Every
lot.
driver that's come through has needed backing.
Yeah, a little bit of financial backing from a big team, whatever that. But then you've got people.
Well, I mean, Alonso was he was part of the Flavio Briatore project, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Briatore plucked him out of karting,
yeah.
and you've got to admit Briatore had more successes than failures with his drivers.
But I think Briatore's ace. Like there's the
when it comes to talent spotting,
and
he
team management as
yeah,
well.
he is absolutely unparalleled.
Yeah,
The guy's a raging arsehole.
absolutely.
But when it comes to actually what happens on track and in the back
He
office,
knows his racing onions.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
they'd
But-
be spring onions, wouldn't they? Racing onions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damper-
Aren't they so
damper spring
wasteful,
onions.
though, spring onions?
You do get a lot of just the bit at the bottom. What is that? You get the wilty leaves. And
Yeah,
there's
and
not
then
a lot
you-
left in
It's
between.
like top 3/4 are gone, bottom 1/8 bit is gone.
There's like
I'd
this
only chop
much
that.
that's-
I'd only chop that off the top of a spring onion.
Doing this on spoken medium
yeah,
is-
we've
They
got
can
it on
see us
YouTube
on YouTube.
for one of the seconds that the Wi-Fi was working.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are so buying a cable next week. But going back to Grosjean, the GPDA is mainly concerned with driver safety.
Yes.
Yeah, and they put the Mad Axeman in charge.
Yeah.
But he's less mad since 2014. I think that was the year he sort of really mellowed out, wasn't it? He got that one race ban for nearly killing Alonso.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think at various times during their time in Formula One, Felipe Massa, for example, was director of the GPDA for a long time. So he probably didn't feel like taking it on again because he's probably just going to retire again at the end of the season. So I don't know who else they would have put in that place. Default.
Yeah.
Default.
He's inoffensive.
He's palmered his way into that.
looking at those stats as well, and we were all very surprised to find out that Grosjean has started less races than Heikki Kovalainen.
Yes, Heikki
Yeah,
Kovalainen, 111 was it?
Kovalainen started 111 races. Grosjean started 106.
Kovalainen must be up there for a shot at the title of Nick Heidfeld's World of Disappointment.
Well, there's Heikki Land in Nick Heifeld's World of Disappointment.
But he's finished, so it won't bother him.
It's okay. There's
I like that. It's Nick Heidfeld's
World of Disappointment.
It's just an attraction.
Yeah, Heikki Land.
Near Penalty Land.
The penalty land just across the road.
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
But one thing Grosjean doesn't like is head protection. Extra head protection on the cars. Because he doesn't like the
I was gonna
halo
say,
and he doesn't like the screen.
This is rubbish. I'm going to race without my helmet.
As far as I know,
I
as
can
well,
see so much more.
Yeah, but his nose will deflect anything heading towards him.
are the Drivers' Association, is their party line not that they actually want head protection?
Well, yes, that was the thing. That was the thing in the article that I read, where the GPDA are all in favour of either the halo or the aero screen, and are campaigning for it to be part of. But Grosjean doesn't want it, so he's having to campaign for something that he doesn't want. Theresa May Brexit.
Do you remember Lewis Hamilton saying, "This halo is ridiculous, and I am not going to race in Formula One if it's a thing"?
Yeah,
And then
He says a lot of
and then
things,
somebody
though.
was just like, Lewis, and all of a sudden he was like, "Oh yeah, no, it needs to come in. It's necessary. It's a thing." So yeah, I don't think it's. Drivers will have their own opinions, but they will have to, as Sean just said, then toe the party line almost when it comes to sort of like we all need to be safer. They are testing the aero screen, aren't they? Or the what's it called, the shield?
the shield. Yeah, it looks like that is on to be tested at Monza.
That'll be interesting to see.
After the race.
After the,
Is this basically just Red Bull's idea?
it's kind of an advancement of the one that Red Bull demonstrated last year.
It's not as big, I
It-
think, from what I've seen. It's
No.
not as...
Yeah, because
Raised.
it was about 10 inches in total length. Obviously at an angle, so it wasn't 10
Yeah.
inches high. But I think they cut it down to about 7 inches now.
But it's a longer angle.
But it's a longer angle.
Yeah, steeper angle. Goes
Yeah.
further down the nose cone. And there are various pictures of this that you can find online, sort of artist impressions of what they think it's going to look like, as well as pictures of cars, modified with what they believe the aero screen's going to be. Some of them take the aero screen almost right down to the front of the nose. I think that's taking it a bit too far.
Yeah.
An artist interpretation is just, it
Yeah.
could be anything
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
couldn't it? We could do one of those and say, look, that might be right. Could
But-
look like that.
Lee's good at colouring in.
F1 history for you though. That was Cosworth's very first ever design brief was given to them by the Van Wall Formula One team. Build a screen for our drivers to deflect all the dust and debris that's thrown up. And back in the days when drivers had open face helmets and goggles, and that was 1958. They were asked to do that, and then they realised it was a huge, huge aerodynamic frog, basically.
Yeah, but in 1958, they were still designing cars with ashtrays in them for the drivers.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd finish.
Ashtrays in a bar.
Yeah.
You'd finish your gin and tonic, and then you go out for a race. That's actually what
You
a
don't
want to
be getting like bits of tyre in your gin and tonic though.
Yeah.
That
No,
might be
you
the
don't
issue.
know. Well, Phil Hill actually said that
Pims would have been a before race.
yes. Phil Hill actually smashed a few teeth in races where he was following cars and grit flew up and hit him in the face.
I thought you were going to say headbutted his decanter.
No, no, he saved it with his mouth from falling out of the. God no. So yeah, I mean the aero screens they're nothing really new as such in that respect in Formula One, but they've. As you were saying before about Jean Alesi, remember the really tiny ones that they had in the 90s, which weren't really any good at all. But
I think that the whole purpose of them was just to deflect air away from the driver's face, because obviously helmet technology wasn't as much as it is now, and the helmets weren't aerodynamic; they were just round.
Yeah.
And Alesi kept saying there was too much turbulent air coming in,
Yeah.
and because we saw some drivers a few years ago when they were still having them on the cars, having the zigzag ones.
Well, that was Rosberg, wasn't it, last year? That was the first
Yeah,
one.
he had like a zigzaggy thing in front of him,
Yeah.
didn't he? Yeah.
Looked like a shark had bitten it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the one problem that the aero screen has is wet conditions. How are they going to? Because if you think about looking through a helmet visor, then you've got an aero screen, I don't know, 11 inches in front of you, which is at such a steep angle you can't quite reach around and wipe it. And you're doing 200 miles per hour as well, so that's
The
not going to
wiper
help.
on it?
Possibly, but is that going to...
Is that not going to be a bit hypnotic?
No,
Yeah.
well,
Having that
when you
going
think about it, they've
constantly?
already got those things right in the centre of their view.
Well, yeah, because they've got like a rake of aerials
Yeah.
for communications and data.
Well, basically, they get away with having canopies and screens in
LMP.
WEC. Yeah,
Yeah.
LMP, yeah.
The LMP
Yeah,
class.
endurance
Because
seats,
they've just brought it in LMP too.
Yeah, and like the top and bottom of it is like those, especially the big prototype cars, are essentially underneath those basically a fucking Formula One car.
Almost,
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're just closed in. And the only thing I have with this is I think it's half steps, and I think they're prolonging grief
The inevitable.
from people. Yeah, whereas it should be just there should be a think tank put together and said, right, it's 2017. In 2020, Formula One cars will have closed canopies, like completely closed.
Yeah.
You have 2 years to work this out.
Yeah.
And instead of all
I
this
actually agree with you completely.
fucking around.
Yeah, because it's delaying the inevitable, and if it comes to closed canopies, we have to accept it.
And this is the thing as well. And what I hate seeing it on comments. And it's usually on ESPN comments.
Oh, they don't count.
People go, it's open cockpit racing. So it's open wheel racing is what it is. It's an open wheeled formula. Nobody has ever said, I fucking love open cockpit racing. Nobody, ever. It's open wheeled racing.
Yeah,
So it's just stupid.
you look at an original Formula One Grand Prix car,
Yeah.
which bears no resemblance to what we watch every 2 weeks.
No.
You know, the engine was at the front. The mechanic was sat next to the driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to keep his brandy topped up.
Yeah,
Mechanic / butler.
yeah. And you can't light your own cigars.
No.
No.
You imagine lighting your own cigar going through Eau Rouge?
I'd wait till I was on the Kimmel Straight, to be quite honest with you.
You'd set fire to your waxed handlebar moustache. God's sake, man, have some perspective.
I like the idea of Graham Hill pulling in and saying, "Sorry, old boy's going to have to retire the car, run out of brandy."
But, you know, every sport evolves.
Yeah.
There's been the big fuss about, you know, should football have video technology? Well, if it stops referees making massive cock-ups for something that they missed, then yes, it should.
Yeah.
Cricket. Oh, it's not gentlemanly to have video replays.
But has them now.
But it's got them now and they bloody work.
Yeah.
It's not gentlemanly to live like Freddie Flintoff did when after they won a match either, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
No. When he got arrested for being drunk on a pedalo, he'd lost a match.
See the clip of him in 10 Downing Street that day?
Oh, with the eyes, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, one eye looking at the Prime Minister and the other eye looking at Buckingham Palace 2 miles away.
He once got that drunk that he read in the papers the next day that he had gone and thrown burgers at David Blaine when he was doing that thing where he lived in a box somewhere in London, and he does not remember if it's true.
Did you go and see that?
I saw David Blaine in the glass
I
case.
thought
Yeah.
so.
Did you throw
Yeah.
food
I was
at him?
no. I was in London for a local sounds weird, a local Battle of the Bands final when we all went to London, and just happened to have like a free day. Make sure you're back at the hotel for 6 p.m. Oh right, okay, cool. Well, what's on in London then? Cool. Just got went around on the underground, had a look at some tourist sites. And
I thought you were going to say you went and had a look at some tourists.
no, some tourist sites, you know, the sightseeings and all that, and the eye, boring, the Millennium Wheel.
I like the Millennium Wheel, but I got on it, and it's because it takes like a good 45 minutes to go around, doesn't it?
Something like that.
And
Takes an hour and a half if there's 5 busloads of pensioners on there and they have to stop it for each capsule full to get off. When you're on the budget in 45 minutes and it takes an hour and a half and you really need the loo, that's not fun.
that happened to me. I got on it, the door shut, and I instantly needed a piss. But to the point where when we got to the top, I got up, sort of shuffled around, go, yeah, it was really good. And then I had to go sit down on the little bench in the middle until we got to the bottom because I couldn't stand up without wetting myself.
But yeah, and then
Screens,
I saw
aero screens.
yes, aero screens.
Well, actually, no. The next thing that we've got on the list naturally segues into that. Have we finished talking about screens?
Can be, yeah.
F1 in London.
Oh, there
Just
you go.
Ta-da!
As far as any of the listeners need to think, though, when they do test these aero screens are getting stuck on cars they're not designed for. And when you get something like this is actually going to happen, the cars will be designed around that, essentially.
Think about the
Or
Red
it'll be
Bull.
integrated.
Yeah, think about the Red Bull Gran Turismo car.
Yeah, tell me you don't want that.
Yeah. Everyone wants that.
Or the McLaren MPX.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but
basically,
there was a problem with the MPX, and somebody actually spotted it on Facebook.
it
Yeah.
wasn't real.
Yeah, it said Honda on it.
No, they didn't allow the wheels enough room to turn, so you can't steer it.
Oh, the
That's a
1998 Ferrari.
Yes. There was no room to turn the wheels. Like they built the wings around the wheels and then thought, oh, they've got to turn them.
So, what we're basically saying is even F1 designers aren't perfect.
Yeah, of course. And basically, all we really want is F-Zero.
You just want anti-grav racing, don't you?
I do, but if I can't have that in my lifetime, I at least want Wipeout type Formula 1 cars with wheels.
Fair enough.
But yeah, F1 in London, because now racing on UK roads is
Easier
easier.
by law.
Yes,
They
not
made,
a,
them, they made them wider.
Almost.
Filled in all the potholes.
Oh, that'll never happen.
Now, basically, there was a law passed in the UK for those that listeners and viewers that don't know that the government has sort of left it in the hands now of the councils for like road closures for sporting events and things like that. This also covers motorsport. So it would be up to a local council to close roads for an event, whether that be worldwide, local, or whatever, rather than having to apply through proper channels to government or whatever. So it essentially makes it easier for events such as races to be held.
It used to be all out illegal to have any racing on British roads, regardless of whether they were open or closed, which is why the Isle of Man TT is a thing.
Yes. Because they wouldn't let them race in the UK.
Yeah.
Nope.
Even if the roads were shut.
Yeah.
So this proposed London Grand Prix, which the idea kicked off, would it be about 10 years ago? Where
Not-
it was supposed
not
to
Come
quite.
and go every now and then.
I
doesn't
remember when Jensen and Lewis were McLaren teammates, that there was a mock-up of a central London circuit, and Jensen and Lewis sort of talked us through the CGI version of what you would do, like third gear around Regent Street or something.
Well, didn't
like that.
they have one a few years back where they closed Regent Street and they had
They had an F1
they had
demo.
an F1 car doing laps of a track that they laid out on Regent Street. It was only just over a car wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But up sort of up to Hamleys and then back down the other end.
It'd be a very boring circuit, I think.
Possibly, it's sort of it's trying to get the sort of prestigious sort of city sort of circuit things going, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that Liberty wants, though, is more city races.
Yeah, and
rather than solar circuits miles away from anywhere.
Do you think it's because there's more chance of getting a race in London than New York? So you get a race in London, and it might push the New York idea forward.
that's possible, especially if with the restrictions being now placed upon it will be Westminster City Council in London for a central London race. Then if they give the go ahead for an event to take place, then of course that as Lee says, that puts pressure then on New York or other cities around the world to say, well, hang on a second, London are doing it, why can nobody else do
It's
it?
not Boris Johnson anymore, is it?
As
No,
mayor
it's,
of London, no,
Khan.
it's Sadiq Khan.
Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
but Boris Johnson probably wanted penny farthing races.
I was
Could you
just-
imagine Boris Johnson in
Oh,
F1? Good
God.
lord.
Podium interviews.
Jesus.
Oh. Boris Johnson was bad enough when he turned up at Wembley when we were watching an NFL game there. He was like, "Oh, I'd like to welcome this great descendant of our wonderful rugger."
Okay.
Yeah. And he announced the table tennis competition at the 2012 Olympics by saying, "Whiff waff comes home."
He also made reference, I think, to the beach volleyball players as looking like glistening otters.
See, that's the one that makes more sense than the rest of it.
But
I just
That's not more sense. That's less non.
I fucking hate people that try and say that Boris Johnson is a nice person.
No, he isn't.
He's a fucking.
He's
cunt.
just entertaining. He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
the thing is, there could be an event, a Formula One event in London this coming summer. Won't be a race, so don't get too excited. But another demonstration along the lines of the one we were just talking about quite recently about Regent Street.
Come summer, there's going to be some demonstration.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine sort of driving down from closing Pall Mall all the way from Buckingham Palace down to the gate, having cars going up and down there, a couple of cars going up and down there with streets lined with people.
Yeah.
That would be something that would obviously attract eyes on Formula One.
Oh yeah.
And to get people talking again about London. Oh, London race, is that possible? Then that could step it up again to 23 races next year. Anyone? It wouldn't take too much organising to put a street circuit race on, because the streets are already there. Somebody's going to have something in place. There are street circuits elsewhere in the world, which you would obviously take experience from people like who run the Singapore race. Well, show us how you prepare. How do you deal with all the road fixings and
What
fittings?
Formula E have one in London, don't they?
Yeah,
Battersea
Park.
the one around Battersea Park.
Yeah.
It's not really
where
London.
the majority of the track is about 1 1/8 car wide.
Oh, I'm not saying you could do it there, but I'm just saying it's not unheard of.
Another series
Yeah.
has found
Yeah.
a way to do it.
Yeah, so it would be because you don't want like the downforce, the front wings ripping manhole covers up like in Monaco
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. Don't want that. Was it last year that happened?
I think that was last year.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Jensen, wasn't it?
Well, it was Rosberg that ripped it up and it nearly hit Jensen's
Yes.
car.
Yeah.
So
Only deflected by my will.
exactly.
I was was like fucking Luke Skywalker when I saw that.
Yeah. Use the Force, Lee. But he, who am I talking about? He. You don't want to see that in.
These aren't the words you're looking for.
These aren't the words you're looking for, Christopher. Try again. But the central London race, you wouldn't want manhole covers flying up. You want obviously proper apex curbs and Armco barriers, Tech Pro and all stuff like that. So they would gain experience, pull people in from like Singapore, possibly even Monaco as well, and Silverstone, I'd imagine as well. Sort of help. Sort of, how would you set this bit up? How would you do that? It wouldn't take an awful lot of doing, I don't think, to put a London street circuit together. The city that can put an event on in like 2 or 3 days, it's not a problem for them to do a race in X amount of months if it would be announced.
And after the Tories voted back in, think of all that lovely money we can spend everywhere. You know, when we've got all that extra NHS money to spread around the place.
Oh God. Yeah, we don't want any injuries because then everybody's going to have to pay for them.
That's about the long and short of it for the news this week.
Yep.
So, we have a Spanish Grand Prix.
We do.
Next weekend.
Yes.
One thing that we were talking about earlier, that Chris has written down on the show notes, is it a classic race these days?
The Spanish Grand Prix, the one particularly at Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, where this race is going to be held. Spanish Grand Prix has been in various guises over the years. Jerez, I think it even was a European Grand Prix was at Jerez, wasn't it, in the 90s for a certain amount of time.
I think he used to swap between Jerez and Estoril.
Yeah, we've had that's right.
I forgot about it.
And Estoril was Portuguese, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then that's another circuit that I kind of miss as well. And then you've got the Valencia.
We don't
circuit
talk about that. We're all visiting our aunt that weekend.
for 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
But
Family
yeah, so
time.
there have been races in Spain, and Formula One wasn't a particularly. Oh, careful, Paul! Good God, are you all right, sir?
Yeah,
Memories of the Valencia street circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might as well have just been renamed the Fernando Alonso Grand Prix.
Yeah, pretty much. But do you know
Well,
what?
there was Mark Webber's barrel roll.
Yeah,
Yes.
there wasn't any massive interest in Formula One in Spain until Fernando Alonso started winning, being quite a successful Formula One driver. That's when Formula One really took off in Spain, and that's why Valencia Street Circuit was the thing. But unfortunately, was it the government stopped funding or something for the circuit, and so they couldn't hold the race there anymore.
It was something like
I think
that.
officially it was that, but it was just a terrible race.
It was just two completely boring processional races, and one not quite as boring but still fairly processional race with Webber's flip.
But wasn't that the same time that the Spanish government remembered that they had they looked in the kitty and it had 7 pesos?
Ooh.
Technically, it would have been euros by then.
Yeah.
That's what made
That was the problem.
That's what made the pesos all the more worrying.
Yeah, somebody had brought them back on holiday from Mexico.
Yeah, but so the Circuit de Catalunya has been part of the calendar since 1990, I think, in its current-ish guise. It's been updated a couple of times. But what the question I was asking is it a classic race in terms of it's almost getting to the point where it would be a crime to remove it from the calendar, or think of it being removed from the calendar, especially as we've just had. All right, okay, Melbourne is now like 20 years old, so that's a well-established sort of Formula One circuit now. Then you've got Bahrain, China, and Russia, all 21st century Tilke circuits. And then we got this purpose-built circuit, which I think was built in like the 60s.
Yeah.
And it does produce some boring races at times, but then you get boring races in places like Spa and Monza. Now, you can never think about taking Spa and Monza off the calendar. You just couldn't, in my opinion.
A few years ago when Spa got cancelled because of the problem with the promoters, it did feel like there was something missing from that season.
Yeah. It was for me, you can't remove those two. You can't remove Monaco either, really, or Silverstone, I would say.
You see, the thing is, I'd never say you can't, because one day they'll be gone.
Eventually, one day.
Yeah,
But at the moment, they're staples of
Yeah,
Formula One.
yeah,
The conversation about could we take them off the calendar would be a complete no-no.
Yeah.
And I actually think this Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix, is getting to that level. When you think about the races that you've had over the years, I mean, early on, that Mansell-Senna duel going down the main straight when they were touching wheels, I think it was like 91.
Yeah.
Schumacher's winning the wet when he was driving for first season for Ferrari, his first Ferrari win. That was, 96?
Maybe.
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah, and then you've got last year's, of course, with
Max Verstappen getting his first win.
Verstappen and Hamilton, Rosberg taking each other out. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Was it a year before that or a couple of years before that? Pastor Maldonado, Roman Grosjean sort of have bits missing off their cars, and they all were trying to do the whole race. Wasn't the central focal point of the race, but it still produced an interesting point to keep an eye on during the race.
I've always got a little problem with Spain, and it's mainly because I know it's a stupid thing, and people probably love it for this fact, but I don't. I don't like Formula One cars racing and testing on circuits.
Do you think you should use different circuits for
like,
testing?
I like the fact that they only go to these places one weekend a year.
Yeah.
So they turn up with brand new cars, and then they've got to work the cars out around the track. They turn up to Spain, and they know what's going on. Which is what I know. That's why you get a lot of updates.
Yeah.
For
Spain.
You can see the difference.
Because it makes sense. Yeah. But to me, I think it would be nice if the Formula Lee would have would test it Paul Ricard and then just never race there.
Yeah.
It's
Because that's what Paul Ricard was reconfigured for.
Yeah.
When it got bought by Bernie Corp.
Yeah.
And it's the Paul Ricard testing circuit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's just my little sticking point.
Yeah, no, it is a good point. And if you think as well, after doing this week's so far Formula League Challenge, I mean, Spain is not new to F1 2016 as a racing game. It's been on all Formula One platforms going back to like 95.
Yeah.
But you get to the end of that straight, and then you've got turn. There's no straights at all whatsoever. But it's just linked.
Worst bird song ever.
Yeah. Travis, when they're amazing. Let's use one word over and over again. They also had another one, didn't they? Sing, 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 sing.
Although I did like Flowers in the Window. it's a nice song.
Writing to Reach You, I quite like that one as well.
Wrong podcast. That's Patreon material. Yes.
Sorry.
But I've completely lost where I was
You've
going.
got right to
Lots
Reach
of
You.
turns.
I have. Completely, lots of turns, so it's very technical.
You finished the straight and you were turning.
Yes, you've got to get your apexes right every single time, because if you get one apex slightly wrong, it throws you off for the next 3 or 4 turns, and that's your sector completely ruined. You've got very little time to actually adjust to set yourself correctly on the track. So it's a real driver's circuit as well, and I think the drivers look forward to racing in Spain. So I think it's at the point now where it's almost a classic status, where it would be criminal to sort of remove the Barcelona circuit from the calendar at any point.
Yeah, I can see your point on that one, because I mean, the way that the circuit's laid out these days, it's kind of got everything, because it's got the long fast straight, there's long corners, the short tight corners. There's obviously the token chicane just before a fast section,
though, isn't it?
but overtaking is the issue there.
Yeah. Which means we're probably in for a pretty
Another Russia.
torrid time of it.
I mean, last year's race, apart from the Hamilton-Rosberg sort of incident, and then Verstappen and Ricciardo trying to hold off the Ferraris, wasn't an awful lot more going on about it.
No, I mean, outside of what started as the top 6 and then became the top 4 after turn 3.
Yeah.
That was all really what was going on.
Yes.
To be honest. But what was going on in the top 4 was bloody interesting.
Yeah, and it made it, in my eyes, a classic race in that respect.
Red Bull's the story of this race for me.
Almost a B-spec car. They are talking
it's being called a B-spec, isn't it? So
it's being called a B-spec, but they're now talking that down a little bit. They're now saying it's chassis updates and engine updates and aero updates.
So that's a car.
That could just be tactical, though, trying to get people to stop looking at them.
It's not as extreme as we said it was going to be.
Sebastian Vettel said that he wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull find themselves with Mercedes and Ferrari now. from now on.
And he would
Again,
know.
that's probably a bit of gamesmanship.
Vettel's good at doing that,
Yes.
though. Especially when he's in a position of power, which is really what he is at the moment.
It's too early to say he's got one hand on the title, but he's certainly in the same fucking room.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's in the conversation,
Yeah.
and when you're in the conversation, then you're obviously in with a shout.
Well, he's the only one in the room, and Lewis Hamilton and Bottas are sort of shoving each
They're
other in
both
the
trying to
doorway
get
at the
in
minute.
at the same
Yeah.
time, aren't they?
No, I'd say the three of them. Well, definitely, I'd say Hamilton's in the room. Hamilton's in the room. Vettel's in the room. And if there is going to be a third driver joining them, then there's a whole group of people bottlenecking at the doorway at the moment.
Jolyon Palmer.
No, he's not
Possibly
even in the same building.
No, sorry, you missed that last week. Face Palmer.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Oh, did you see that one?
I wasn't there.
I couldn't
Maybe
remember if that was after
spirit.
you'd said you were going to bed or not, because I know you were.
Oh, yeah, I ended up just perving on you for a while after that. 'cause I
Fair
couldn't
enough.
sleep.
Was that on the YouTube channel or the secret webcam you put in my living room?
Both.
Both.
Okay.
No, Palmer's not even in the same building. He's outside. Like, where am I supposed to?
Come on, lads.
He doesn't have the pass to get in. Yeah, so I think you've probably, as you say, got people shouldering each other on the way into the down the corridor trying to get into the room. But Vettel and Hamilton, I would say, they're the two that are already in there. Vettel probably being a bit more comfortable at the moment than Lewis.
Yeah, because all of a sudden Vettel's found out that he is de facto number one, and Lewis might have a teammate that's allowed to win races.
Which could lose Mercedes the title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could see a
But you can't number two.
McLaren 2008 situation.
Yeah, but you can't number two Bottas at the moment.
No.
Now that he's got the race win as well, he's going to be more confident. He's obviously getting more comfortable with the car.
Yeah, but yeah.
Look at what happened. Look at what happened with Hakkinen. All those races that he waited for his first win,
Yeah.
got the first win, mainly because Schumacher tried to kill Villeneuve, and then two seasons of domination
Yeah.
in the best car on the grid.
Don't forget, Vettel lost time in pits, didn't he? Was there a bad stop or something? There's something happened with Vettel where he lost a bunch of time.
Nope.
Somewhere, yeah, somewhere at some point Vettel lost time during that race. I can't remember.
In the Russian race,
Yeah, it was about 3 seconds or something he lost.
he gained
Was this not
quite a
because
lot
he
by
came
staying
into
out.
the pit a bit late?
No, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember whether he was held up by another driver or something. Or
On the last lap.
On
he
the
was
last
held
lap,
by Bassett.
before that. But
Were you watching the same race as us? Because this
I
is
was
news to us.
I'm sure he lost something somewhere. But anyway, the one race does not make a world championship contender, and I think people are putting the eggs back into the chicken and then taking them out again before they hatch.
What?
Right. Would Eric Cantona like to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Basically, I don't think Bottas is ever going to win a world championship.
That's
He's not going to win a world championship, but he could seriously affect the outcome of a world championship.
I think he could win a world championship. He could win a world championship. Not saying he will.
I think if Lewis puts the manners on him for in the next two races, I think we'll be talking about him being a number 2 driver.
Because don't forget, the first world championship that Lewis Hamilton won was actually for Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because let's also remember that obviously you've got to do the job on the day, and anyone that's listened to this podcast for any length of time knows I'm not a fucking Lewis Hamilton fan by any stretch of the imagination. But he was on a circuit that he was particularly good at, and as you said on our preview podcast, he was good there in the Williams. He's just
Bottas
good
was,
around
yeah.
that circuit. And he was lucky that the circuit, but I think more than anything, he was lucky that Lewis just had a really bad weekend. It's not just the fact that if Lewis would have been second behind Bottas, that would have been even worse than Lewis being where he was.
But the Ferraris were quick all weekend.
Yeah, that's fine. That's Ferrari land. But what I mean is, as far as Lewis goes,
Ferrari land is in Fuerteventura.
Yeah, not Nico Rosberg's world of disappointment.
Nico Rosberg's world of disappointment.
Oh no, sorry, Nico Hulkenberg.
Nico Rosberg's.
It's Nico Rosberg's trophy village.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Hamilton had a bad weekend.
Hey, I'm on strong medication
Yeah,
this week.
fair enough.
Hamilton had a bad
Hamilton
weekend.
did have a bad weekend. He had a terrible. He's not on the pace at all in
Yeah.
Russia whatsoever
So I mean, and I think he.
at any point.
I wouldn't be surprised as well if when they went back and had a look at the cars, whether there was something wrong with Lewis's car.
That was the thing that got me about Lewis though. He was unusually honest about him being off the pace. It wasn't the usual something's not right. This isn't something didn't work and we're going to find out what. He just came out and said it. I was half a second down in sector 3. I just couldn't get the car to work in the third sector, which that was unusual for Lewis because he's not normally that specific.
But it's Lewis Hamilton, and I don't think.
So you don't believe a word he said about that?
No, apart from that. But chances are he won't have a race like that for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Can Bottas say the same thing?
The one thing Bottas, I think, does have going for him more than Rosberg is Lewis isn't going to get in his head anywhere near as much.
I don't know, because when you think about him at Williams and Ferrari was sniffing around Bottas
He lost it.
for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I think he's come out the other side of that stronger, and he's less likely to be affected because he's looked back. I mean, don't forget. All right, I'm stereotyping here. He's Finnish and massively analytical.
Yeah.
He's looked back and thought, yeah, when there was all that Ferrari interest, and I lost it a bit, and I was concentrating more on that than what I should have been doing.
Lee wouldn't have got that interview either, would he, before the race
No.
with
No.
Valtteri Bottas?
No, the whole
Ted Kravitz.
Ted
and Valtteri
Kravitz spending
Bottas.
a weekend with him
Oh, right.
in his furniture workshop. He is that Finnish that he makes wooden furniture in
He
his
actually,
spare
he,
time.
actually has, he actually has a pond in his garden that he cuts a hole out of and jumps into for an ice bath.
Then he goes
straight
for a
after his sauna.
Yeah.
So it's like sauna, ice bath.
That'd be funny. I think I prefer hanging around with Kimmy. But,
Bath of
Bottas
vodka.
has his own burger.
He
What?
does have a burger.
He has his own burger. There is a combination of meat and spices available in his local shop, which is called the Bottas Burger.
Because that local shop was the first place to sponsor him when he started karting.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I'm glad this was an interview. Otherwise, I think you all knew really weird aspects.
No, do you know what? It was a bizarre interview in that you saw just how Finnish Valtteri Bottas really is.
Yeah.
The most disturbing part of it was having to watch Ted Kravitz wearing only a pair of shorts.
And Ted Kravitz trying
Yeah.
to dance in the sauna, and Valtteri Bottas just being like, "No, we don't dance in here."
In the ice bath as well, Bottas just got in and Ted Kravitz was
A
very
bit.
squeaky.
Screaming like a 14-year-old
Yes.
girl, I think is the
Yeah.
phrase.
Yeah.
Giggity. All I really want in my life is to be friends with Ted Kravitz.
The best bit, though, I've got to say, was when Ted Kravitz asked almost rhetorically to Valtteri Bottas, "Oh, that's freezing. Why would you do that?" Bottas came back with, "It's good for the circulation." So yeah,
Ask the pond.
he's incredibly Finnish. Perhaps not quite as charismatic as Kimi Räikkönen. But that could hold him in good stead as the season unfolds. As I say, with that first win under his belt, he could actually go on to do very, very well.
I'd like to see what happens if Vettel had been able to get close enough to put real pressure on him.
Yeah,
That's what I'd like to see.
yeah.
Because I don't think he won the race. If Vettel would have got in within like a second and a half of him, with like 8 laps to go, say, if he could have got there where he could have had a real go at it, I don't think he'd have won that race.
Quite possibly.
Possibly. But I think we'll see a different Valtteri Bottas now. If not for the rest of the season, then certainly for the next few races, unless he gets a major setback. I can't see Mercedes being able to number 2 him at the moment.
No, but I tell you what, whatever spring he's got in his step, if it goes to qualifying, Lewis Hamilton goes 3/10 quicker than him, that he just does a Lewis Hamilton lap and pulls time out of his fucking ass.
Yeah.
Then whatever psychological high ground Bottas has got right now will instantly be gone. Because then that race becomes the exception that proves the rule.
It could be.
Yeah.
But I think Mercedes have got a bigger problem in Spain in that it normally suits Ferraris anyway. And Ferrari are looking extremely strong at the moment.
Yeah.
Although how much of the testing pre-season with the amount of laps that Mercedes actually got in How much of that were they thinking about the actual race there when they were testing?
Possibly.
Because it got to a certain point, and it's like, yeah, okay, we know the car works, we know that it does this, we know it does
Also-
this. Let's see what this car can do at this circuit, race trim, because this is the start of the European season, and if we can absolutely blitz Ferrari here, we go into Europe with a huge advantage.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
But bearing in mind as well, this is the only race in this half of the season that the medium tyres are used. I don't think we see the medium tyres again until after the summer break.
No.
Uh,
And drivers are saying that it's the wrong choices.
Is it medium, soft,
Too
medium,
hard,
soft,
apparently?
medium, and hard? They've gone for.
Yeah, but apparently the mediums are too hard.
This year's
Yeah,
compound
yeah.
mediums.
Everything's harder, isn't it, this year?
Yeah, but the
Giggity.
but the medium compound is what Mercedes know more than anyone. We know this because they tend to run all of their testing on the medium compound. So that could play into Mercedes' hands as well.
But the Mercedes have struggled on the mediums, haven't they, in previous races with mediums? I'm sure, wasn't there a race?
We haven't had a race yet with
Have we
medium
not- have we
tyres.
not had
no.
them?
This,
must
this
be
is the
different
first time.
tyre.
This is the first time that we'll see.
Must
them.
be the softs I'm thinking of then. They might
They've
struggle
had
to-
trouble switching on the harder compounds, so
Oh, right.
so you know, getting them into the working temperature.
Well, but then
So-
if in that case that the medium is harder, then they might struggle with the mediums.
They might do.
Danny,
They may well
Danny
do.
Rick is actually saying that the compounds are a lot harder. All compounds are harder than they were last year.
Yeah,
They've been struggling to get temperature into the softs,
yeah.
so it's going to be even harder to get the temperature into the mediums and the hards, and every team is going to struggle.
It's about
On the
time,
harder
isn't it?
tyres.
It's about time somebody chastised Pirelli for something that they asked for 12 months ago. About fucking time.
We want harder tyres. They're too hard.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw someone say everything is exactly one compound harder. So this year's medium are like,
like the
last
hard
year's
tyres.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they've gone. Apparently, they've gone
It's
too,
too
far.
far.
Is that why we're seeing the ultra softs an awful lot more than we did last year?
Yeah,
they
they're
were
better
only
than they
really
were, or
soft.
they
Yeah,
last
because we didn't see the Ultrasoft. Still Canada last year, and
yeah.
we've already had them at 2 races this season.
That's good because it's a pretty colour.
Match the Force Indias,
Yeah.
which was
That was a Kravitzism.
Yeah, the Kravitzism that I like these tyres on the Force India. They match the car.
But yeah, it's softs, mediums, and hards on this one, and I think the thinking is that the softs are potentially hard enough
To do a whole race.
to do the whole race on, and the hards you're just not going to get any temperature in whatsoever.
I would just, if I were a split strategy team owner, I would split my cars. One of them I'd have pitting at the end of the first lap, regardless of whether there's a safety car or not. Switch them onto the soft compounds. Out you go. Go and do the whole race.
Anywhere from 10th down, that's worth a shot, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I could see that happening. You said anyway.
They tried to do it with Saubers, didn't they? This last race just gone. Tried to run them ultra soft throughout the whole race. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I am sure somewhere in a secret vault in Switzerland, right this minute, Ruth Buscombe is there with what she's looking at will look like the Matrix.
I see. I'm pretty sure that somewhere in Switzerland, the whole Sauber team are crowded around one Android tablet, going, "I can't wait till we get some of this Honda money."
Yeah. See, now I think that some of the Sauber team have just been driven outside Dignitas and gone, just pointed at Dignitas and gone, you do know we're not that far from it, right? Get it right next time. Driven off.
Let's also not forget that don't Honda bring a brand new engine to Spain?
Well,
At
they bring
least-
a brand new engine to every race for the one that inevitably goes pop.
Yeah,
They're bringing
fair
at
point.
least three
Redesigned.
brand new power unit parts.
right. So that's basically an engine.
Well, before Russia, they were saying, this is awesome. We're looking really forward to getting to Spain because we think that we're going to be on par with the Renaults. And then in Russia, all the Renaults start being really shit.
Yeah.
So they might be less shit than they already are, but still quite shit.
Well, isn't this the power unit configuration with the Honda that's going to cure the vibrations?
Apparently so.
they're fucked.
Well, this is every time Honda have tried to do something. It has,
Just imagine it just locks in though, and Stoffel and Fernando get in the car like, oh, again, really, right, new things. Yeah, we'll just, like, with no vibrations, this car is amazing. Pull back in, and Eric Boulier is like, boys, we're 8/10 faster than the Mercedes.
we don't even understand how, but somehow it sounds like a V12 as well.
Yeah. Have you guys been taking shortcuts? Because this timing data is telling us that you're faster than everyone out there.
Meanwhile, Alonso is trying to get rid of a turtle shell in the back of the garage.
Yes. But yeah, something tells me I don't know why, because I've got absolutely nothing to go on with Honda's previous performance. Every time they claim it's going to improve, but I think they're going to cure the vibrations. What's the next thing that's going to go wrong? It's like, we forgot to attach the cylinder heads and they've fallen off, so you're 500 horsepower down.
Yeah. Well, if the cylinder heads fall off, you're out of the race.
Exactly.
Yeah. They do tend to be the master of finding a problem for every solution, don't they?
It's like, Honda have got a new solution. We've stopped shooting ourselves in the foot. How have you managed that? We've started pointing the gun at our face.
Yeah. The McLaren and Honda both seem quite positive about this European season, but quietly positive. And you know when a team goes into a race and they're really loud and they're brash and they're like, "Wow, we're gonna do some amazing things at this circuit." You know, it's kind of what I've explained before, art of war, talking themselves up when they know they're not going to be that good. And you get sandbagging from teams who think they're actually going to be quite good when they're like, well, we'll see how it goes. You know, we've got a few updates, but we'll see what happens. McLaren are in between both at the moment, which for McLaren is positive because they've always been on the side of we're going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then they're not. So for the first time since I can't remember when, they are saying, well, we know we've changed a lot of things, but we just want to see how it goes in Spain, but we think it's going to be all right. You know, thumbs up at the moment. We think everything's going to be pretty cool. So this could be McLaren climbing up the ladder. I can't believe I'm saying that, to be quite honest with you.
I am cynical about this, as I say.
Double points finish.
That's bold.
That's bold.
That's very bold.
That is a very bold prediction.
It's a chassis circuit.
It is, because as I said before, it's a turn. From turn 1 till pretty much the end of the circuit.
Yeah. Mind you saying that, even if they fix the problems, they've still got a massive horsepower disadvantage. But
well, no, that's the thing, that they think that they won't have the horsepower disadvantage with this upgrade.
Because they can turn it up.
But then they don't know how the car works when it gets going at full tilt anyway, because they've never had it.
The issue is that they use fucking fuel.
It's harder on the Honda engine is harder on fuel. It's also the full ERS system that they've had problems with. The double points finish is going to be difficult, mainly because if they've got the ERS problems worked out, that's instant penalties. Certainly for Stoffel, because he's already taken a penalty for an extra MGUH.
Yeah.
I think this will be Alonso's last MGUH that he can change, because he's used 3 so far this season. He might have even been on his 4th in Russia. So that's going to make it more difficult.
They're just going to have to take penalties, aren't they? When they come, and hopefully, if they have to start from the back of the grid, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to be 18th? With a shit car, or keep trying new engines and keep throwing them at the car and start last with a chance of going forward?
Yeah, with a chance of points later on.
Yeah. I mean, there was talk a week ago about Formula One assisting McLaren and Honda because of the engine deficits. Now, whether this involves rewriting the penalty rules slightly for them, just because. Because
it's outside the bounds of fair competition.
Yeah, because they are that shit, they're going to have to be helped.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I can see McLaren challenging for points if Honda are going to carry on with these developments.
I don't know.
And bringing them, because how are they going to get them working?
You can start last and finish 10th. You know, the midfield's so
there
tight.
are engineers in Formula One who genuinely believe as soon as Honda will hook that up, they'll be up there with Mercedes and Ferrari.
They're called McLaren engineers.
Yes. Quite possible, probably actually. Yeah. Not even possibly, just probably. Let's just probably Eric Boulier.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer now. I'll show you my degree, but I ate it. Printed it on rice paper, didn't I?
Delicious.
But yeah, we're into 4 years of teething troubles. No one has this outside the Osmonds and the Bee Gees.
No, quite right.
That
And
one fell flat.
Yeah, I don't understand it, to be perfectly honest. I'll be honest.
and all of the and all of
We're not on
the
YouTube anymore. I can do that.
all of the people who star in like high school dramas in America and like high school movies.
Musical.
No, not like, yeah. All right, okay. We'll use High School Musical as a thing. Like, here is Jeff. Jeff is in high school. Jeff is 32.
Jeff has some answering to do.
Yeah, it's like it was the same, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Jeff.
It's just like why are you still in high school? You're obviously in your early 30s. But because he's got a leather jacket on and he looks cool and trendy, you're supposed to believe he's in high school. Same with McLaren. Like, what? Why are you still having problems? You've had that now for 3 years. That you should not be having these problems. You can't call that. That's not a baby.
Meanwhile, from the back of the car, Screech pops up with the spanners.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's all right though because he got saved by the bell.
Saved by the Boulier.
Quite possibly.
So
Boulier sounds like a maker of cheese.
Boulier.
Yeah.
Boulier finest fromage. Yeah, I can
it'd
see
be a
that.
soft cheese.
Yeah.
Boulier, finest fromage. It's always from. Have you noticed it? That all posh French cheeses are from a certain region of France, from the something region of France. Using the finest grass on hillsides near the sea or something. I don't know anything about cheese.
You've lost it.
I know it's tasty.
Who else are we going to slag off? Because we've got Red Bull with the not quite B spec car. It's kind of the AA spec.
It's A.5.
Yeah.
It could be anything, couldn't it? It could.
They
be
might turn up and their car might just look nothing like that we've seen it so far this year.
I think that's what's going to happen because it's still confusing why that Red Bull is so basic when they've got a fucking genius with a pencil designing the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, because do you remember all the configurations they went through in testing? They went through an awful lot of configurations through the tests, and then they turned up at the first race with a very basic looking car.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the front wings they were trying out, that elements on elements in there. I think I saw one photo where there was something like 9 planes on the front wing. And nobody's ever used that many. I mean, Ferrari have got that sixth
plane, isn't it? Yeah.
that they brought in for Bahrain. And everyone, that's loads. That's stacked, and that was like 2/3 of what Red Bull had used for a few laps in testing, and decided that it didn't work.
Yeah, I think possibly they tried a bit too much in testing and just ran out of time to get the thing that works absolutely perfect in time for the first race. And
then it was back to the drawing board.
yeah,
and
they've got a load of half ideas.
Yeah, just build it up from there.
Well, let's think about it, right? We've had Australia. Australia's always a bit of a fucking mixed bag anyway, isn't it? Where were we after Australia?
Bahrain.
Power circuit, I would
Or
say.
China, sorry.
China.
China, yeah.
Power circuit.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bahrain, power circuit, I'd say. There's big long straights there, isn't there?
Some aero as well, because of that middle sector, last sector.
But predominantly engine driven.
Yeah.
Engine driven because it's got long turns that go on forever, so you need
This
speed
is-
and grip
Yeah.
at the same time.
This is definitely a chassis circuit.
Russia, power circuit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's all down to acceleration, isn't it? There's not an awful lot of braking goes on in Russia.
So let's say you were going to have your car, and you knew you were behind, because I think if you remember towards the arse end of last year, towards the arse end of the winter going into testing,
Yeah.
Christian Horner said that they were behind on building the car. If you remember right,
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah, they've been honest about it.
Yeah. So, what do? Do you try and put as much on the car as you can, or do you leave it till we get into Europe, to when they can bolt all these bits on, when the car's ready, everyone else is also sort of solidly into their design philosophy as well. And if you think you've got any interesting ideas, it makes them much harder to copy.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying what might have happened.
No, I think that is a pretty good point, actually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's always a risky tactic to basically say, "Oh, you have a head start. We'll catch up later."
Yeah, but I mean...
But when you've got the arrogance of a team like Red Bull,
Yeah.
because they are the oh right, okay, we'll start playing now. We've stopped letting you beat us, and then if it doesn't work out, it's always somebody else's fault.
See, what they do have as well in their back pocket that I think people forget sometimes if they can get the car together. Excuse me. They have the best driver pair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, possibly. I think Ferrari probably have the strongest team lineup at the moment.
If Kimi would turn up.
He turned up in Russia.
Yeah, he was still fourth and well off Vettel. Third, sorry, and well off Vettel.
Yeah.
And he was only third because Hamilton had a bad day.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So
But he's gradually moving up a place at a time, so
Yeah.
he could actually be due second this week.
maybe.
and win in Monaco.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody make that? I think somebody tweeted Virtual Statman with that, and he retweeted it.
Yeah.
His last few races, he's gone 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd.
Yeah. Kimi's never been like great at Monaco, has he?
I don't think so. He may have won
Yeah.
way back in the day, but I'm not sure about.
Jensen's going to win Monaco, isn't he?
But he at this rate, he very well could. Let's talk about middle of the field teams.
Now, there's actually a point. There is a point. Would Jensen have to carry any penalties based on the car?
No.
No,
'cause
it's driver penalties, I think.
So if Honda bring in this new amazing everything for Monaco,
They could stick.
They
Jensen
could put
would have
anything in
five
that
of
stick
car.
it
them,
in, stick it in
essentially.
Jensen's car,
Yeah.
and it works. It's the 17th MG UK that particular chassis has. He's going to be driving Alonso's chassis.
Yeah.
Is he going to get away scot-free?
Yeah, it's on driver, not chassis.
Fair enough.
So, I wouldn't be surprised, given the fact that he's only going to do one race anyway, if they fucking 1990 Ford it. Yeah, and
So-
he had a brand new engine for every session.
Yeah,
So,
because Brundle finished second, didn't he, in McLaren '94 when they had a Peugeot, and the Peugeot was terrible.
Yeah.
And then,
but they also had qualifying and race engines then,
Yeah.
and practice engines. So you could theoretically, I suppose, see Jensen with a Thursday engine, a Saturday engine, and a Sunday engine.
Yeah.
Or two Saturday engines,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
for FP3 and one for quali.
possibly.
There's no. If they've got the units there, that built and ready to go, there's no sense not doing that. If he's, if he's got, is it four? Do you get 4 engines? Or
It's,
5?
yeah, four.
So
four
if he's
four
got
each
4
component.
engines he can use in one race weekend, then he's not going to do another race.
Yeah,
Unless they know something about Alonso, we don't.
yeah.
Yeah, now that's the other thing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Because if Alonso has a bad showing in Spain, are we going to see him come back after the Indy 500?
Possibly. I don't know. I don't think we. Possibly is the word of this podcast. I don't think.
I thought it was wild speculation.
That's 2 words.
Yes.
Not if you hyphenate.
I don't think Alonso's going to ditch Formula One just yet, but I think his head could be somewhere else if he's successful in an Indy 500,
Yeah.
and his focus might not be on Formula One, which would see his performances drop off as well as the couple that hand in hand with the car's performances being terrible, and he just might not be with it at all for the rest of the year, and then call it a day and go and drive somewhere else, which would be bad for Alonso, bad for McLaren. So I would prefer if Alonso did have a successful Indy 500 and genuinely thought that was his best chance of success, that he sort of went, I'd rather step out in a couple of races time and let Jensen take over for the rest of the season, because I don't think this is going to work for me. I would respect Alonso a lot more if he did that than if he did what I just said then, sort of basically phoned it in for the rest of the
season.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm going to throw a bold prediction here. Alonso won't do the British Grand Prix and Jensen will do it.
Well, Jensen has given an interview this week where he was talking about coming back for Monaco, and he was saying that is a dream, coming back for the one race, but he wouldn't want to come back for the rest of the season.
But I reckon he'll do Silverstone.
But the only
do.
thing I'd say with that is that interview was after another interview he did where he basically said, "Oh yeah," he said, "It's a dream to get back in the car this year," and it almost seems like then there was a load of like, "Oh, like is Jenson going to want to come back to Formula One? Is he going to do the rest of the season?" There was a load of wild speculation. Then there was then he did another interview where he clarified things more. So I wonder whether we just put some fires out.
Possibly.
He's very good at doing that, which is why he stayed on as McLaren ambassador, because he's great with his sponsors and he says the right things all the time.
Oh yeah.
But let's have a look at sort of like more midfield teams for this upcoming weekend.
We've got to do our McLaren half hour.
Let's not do the McLaren half hour. We're not a McLaren podcast, goddammit.
Chris,
No!
we've done it.
Good.
We're finished. We'll go slightly quicker. Sauber. All right, next.
That's
Next.
You say go slightly quicker and then mention Sauber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force
Sort of
India, do you
Honda
reckon Force India's still going to be holding off Williams for that fourth spot as Spain?
This is where we're actually going to see what that Force India is made of, because it's a chassis circuit.
Yeah.
Now, we've said it constantly about it looks heavy, it looks clunky, it looks misshapen. Let's see what it can do here.
Is it well balanced?
Yeah.
That's the question. Did Lance Stroll complete laps in testing before he binned it?
Maybe one or two.
One or two.
It was a
So
token
he doesn't
effort.
really know this circuit either. Then he's
No.
he's fairly new to this circuit.
Yeah.
Other than driving around at half speed before binning it into a wall. You've got to look at what Lee said pre-season. Williams have got one driver this season, and it's Felipe Massa.
Yeah, although, and I want to thank Zane for sending this in. There's an ad in Canada for the Spanish Grand Prix that says Lance Stroll is looking to match Verstappen's performance from last year.
What, in Spain?
Yeah,
So he wants to win the race.
yeah.
Well,
He's got to hope everybody in front of him crashes.
do you know what? I would like to emulate Max Verstappen at the Spanish Grand Prix next weekend. Not going to.
I'm going to quote Barney Stinson. Oh, Canada, why do we let you be a country? I think that might be a little bit
You want to win the race, eh?
a little bit beyond his capabilities.
Beyond his capabilities, beyond the car's capabilities, I think Force India and Williams could have an interesting scrap in Spain. We don't really know much about that Williams either, chassis wise.
That car's better than it looks.
It looks okay at the moment, and Massa's been driving it quite well.
Yeah, it looks good when Massa's driving it.
It looks terrible when Stroll's
Well,
driving
let's
it.
face it, Massa was fucking clean slow last year.
Mm.
I don't believe that retiring and coming back this year
Has made him
has
faster.
made him any quicker.
No.
So that says that car has probably got another second hardness.
I think he's just trying to. There's a new kid in town, and he wants to prove he's not completely over the hill. I can still race it against the new kid who's here in Formula One.
I think he's got the right kid for that.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, absolutely. Against Bottas, I could understand why he might have been getting a little bit disheartened. Like, well, Valtteri's definitely got a seat for next year, and they're bringing somebody else in, right? Well, that's why his performance has probably dropped off a bit. But now it's like, well, Felipe, we need you back. Can you race against this new kid? He's like, I'll show you what I'm made of, and that's why Felipe's been putting the performances in that he has.
He claims that mentoring Lance Stroll is very similar to how he felt when he was being mentored by Michael Schumacher. So therefore, he's making himself out that he's as good as Schumacher was.
Yeah, he's immediately making.
Here's how not to win a world championship.
Yeah, he's basically turned around and said, "I'm Michael Schumacher. Lance Stroll will be the perfect number 2 for somebody."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lance Stroll is number 2. I think that's to the point, really.
Yeah. And I think both Force India drivers are putting in more consistent performances at the moment than both Williams drivers. If you look at that, and that's how they've managed to leapfrog Williams in the points. Because you've had the 6th and 7th were they in the last race, something like that. Ocon and Perez, they're pushing each other, and they're both driving very, very well to beyond the capabilities of that car.
How do we forget this? The Force India, there's rumours going around that Brabham are buying them. How do we miss that in the news?
I don't know how we missed that in the news, because the team is definitely up for sale.
Yeah.
Yes, the team is up for sale,
And
but
how did we miss it in the news? Chris didn't write it down.
I didn't write it down. No.
Bloody hell.
Forgot that bit, didn't I?
Yeah, just one of the biggest stories of the week. But yeah, Force India is up for sale. Brabham, or what's now the Brabham Group.
Which owns a couple of GT race cars.
Yes. And they do have a sports car division as well, where they make and sell high performance cars.
Yes.
They are possibly one of the rumoured interested parties. It's just that Malia and the other guy want 250 million for the team,
And Brabham don't want to pay that much.
and the fair valuation is about 100 million less than that.
Yeah. Well, that's Mally needs the ducats, doesn't he?
He needs to pay his bail.
Yeah. Obviously, we won't be seeing Vijay Malia this week.
Yeah. I think what with the Brabham Force India thing, the moment that becomes any clearer than just a rumor, then all of the major outlets will be on that straight away. So you won't be able to move for hearing that. Though it does make me think.
What could go wrong? Remember when Lotus came back and won all those races, championships?
It was the Lotus
which
name.
Lotus?
To be fair, it was somebody who bought the rights to use the Lotus name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was never.
It was the closest thing that Formula One's had to the Bloods and the Cribs at one point.
Yeah, two Lotus Renaults teams. Yeah,
Yeah, Lotai.
Yeah,
I mean, if Tony Fernandez's Lotus hadn't become Caterham, they were going to go for a black and gold colour scheme as well.
Yeah.
That following year, so there would have been 4 black and gold cars on the grid calling themselves
they
Lotus.
were going to do that, and he was talked down from it.
then he bought Caterham cars.
Yeah, I think he bought Caterham, and Genie Capital gave him a large amount of money in a sealed envelope, saying, "Why
buy Caterham."
Why don't you go buy some green paint?"
Yeah. Yeah, which is why, obviously Caterham's colours, green and British Racing green and yellow or gold, copied from the Lotus 7 design that Lotus sort of decided they didn't need anymore, and Caterham went, we'll have that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is actually David Brabham who is allegedly heading up this offer. So
Jack Brabham's son.
Jack Brabham's son, David Brabham, who used to race as well.
He was Damon Hill's teammate, I think, in 1992.
So that means he would have been last week's Total Shunt teammate as well.
He would have been last week's Total Shunt teammate. Did I do you proud with that, Lee? Was that good?
Of course you did.
Yeah.
I said I was very proud of all my understudies.
Good.
And you saw my tweet after that.
Yeah, wasn't so proud about you with your foul language after that.
Don't say it, baby. Available for sale on iTunes now.
But wouldn't it be great if we got Brabham back on the grid?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder if it would change the colour scheme mid-season. We could be seeing a Pink Force India and saying, mid-season team takeover. Well, we're Brabham now, so
It's for a sponsor, isn't it?
It's going to be white
so
and blue.
presumably they
just
would...
like the Williams BMW was, because that
although
was
what was the last Brabham on the grid? What colour was the last Brabham on the grid?
It was pink and blue.
Yes, it was.
I'd be surprised. Damon Hill drove that, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like one of those unicorn frappuccinos that
looked-
Starbucks are doing.
I was just going to say, it looked like a sweet. I'd be surprised if it changes mid-season.
I don't know. I can't bring to mind a Formula One takeover mid-season before where they changed livery. HRT.
I can.
Renault Lotus.
No, Midland to Spiker. The team carried on being called Midland because they had to, because that's what it was. That's what they were
But they
called.
changed the team name
They
to
changed
Spiker.
the team name to Midland Spiker, and all of a sudden it went from red and silver to orange.
Yeah, and black.
Yeah, and then it went the full Spiker colour scheme the following year, pre-Force India.
Never
So
got full spiker.
not if you sat down at the wrong angle.
Was that Spiker's first race when Winkelhock led the Austrian, or was it the European Grand Prix? It was Nürburgring, so probably European Grand Prix.
Yeah,
And it rained, and he was the only one who started on intermediates.
yeah, and he actually led on his debut in a backmarking car.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last team to have a ownership change and livery change mid-season is what is now Force India.
Which is bizarre. So, yeah, a blue and pink car, or a blue and white. I think is the colours of Brabham, aren't they?
That was it was the BMW colours, the blue and white,
Right. Okay.
because they always had BMW
Brabham
engines,
BMW, yeah.
which is why when Williams got the BMW engines, they got the blue and white colour scheme in as a tribute to the old Brabham BMWs.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. It
They
would be
couldn't
nice.
get Parmalat sponsorship because it didn't exist by that point.
Yeah. It would be nice, but for nostalgic reasons, I don't know anything about the Brabham organisation other than they now only race GT cars.
No, but it's a name in it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a name synonymous with Formula One.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, hence the 2 Lotuses and
Yeah.
yeah.
I would prefer the name Brabham back than Force India.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a rubbish name, isn't it? Force India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do what? What are you going to force India to do?
Also, Sahara Force India, as they were for a time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sahara's nowhere near India.
No, no.
But that comes from Subrata Roy, who's the other guy who has also been arrested apparently, who owns Sahara India, which owns 42.5% of the team. The report I've got is he is currently in legal trouble relating to some financial dealing and monies, about $3.7 billion owed to investors.
A
Oh
little bit
dear.
of a problem, really, isn't it?
So yeah, between Subrata Roy and Vijay Mallya, they need to get rid of the team.
They do.
Yeah, tell you what, between those two, there's been some calls just like cut off, hasn't there? There's
Yeah.
been some red
Private
buttons
number.
pressed.
Swipe left.
Not today, Dave. Not today.
And again, I'm quoting the article in thedrive.com. Vijay Mallya has financial issues totaling about 1.35 billion. So there's around about $5 billion of financial issues related to the 2 owners of the team.
But I love the idea of these people having financial issues because they've got financial issues. The issue is they don't want to use any of their own money to pay the bills.
I think that's how you get rich, isn't it? You just don't spend your own money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the current situation with Force India. But on the track, we will see how they do compare against the midfield teams, and are they going to be fourth for the rest of the season on merit? Because if they can outperform Williams at a chassis circuit, then I take back everything I've said about the car.
But with this being a chassis circuit, we're going to see Toro Rosso in the mix.
Now there is every chance of that.
Are we actually getting any indication that Toro Rosso have actually got a good chassis?
Yes, but it's the Renault power unit that keeps letting them down.
Yeah, no, but I don't think they have. It's not like in McLaren's case, where McLaren had been like the fastest car at certain points around, at certain
Through corners.
Yeah. All we're going off is the fact that side by side, it has a passing resemblance to a Mercedes.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've done anything to prove that they've actually got a good chassis. But
I don't think they've proved anything, really,
No,
have
not
they?
really.
They've just been bang average every race.
So far.
Yeah.
So far, when we expected them to be the top end
Jury
of the
is
midfield, and
completely
they're just
out.
not. Yeah.
I like
They've had points.
prophecies coming true as well.
Yeah, they've had points finishes. So
Holding Carlos Sainz hostage has done nothing for his results.
no,
No.
not yet. Anyway, but they could be on the cusp of points. Renault have got a big update coming as in Renault Formula One team, not the engine supplier, who are the same people.
Is it another driver?
No, they've got they've got a big update coming for Spain, and Nico Hulkenberg, I think it is, has said that he is really looking forward to getting into the car, and all the simulation work appears to put them a few tenths further down the road per lap.
No, that's good.
So
Hulkenberg's driving the wheels off that car.
Hulkenberg is doing Hulkenberg things now. It took him a couple of races to get used to how the Renault works and how the team works and that, but now, yeah, since Bahrain, he looked good, and in Russia specifically, I think he was running 6th at one point. Not Hulk's usual position of 5th, but yeah, 6th.
Yeah, but it's still learning the team, so once he gets up to speed, then we'll get the 5th.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Palmer is doing Palmer things with that car.
Yeah, it's not worked for Palmer, has it?
He's not worked. He's had terrible luck, and I think it was Josh Stewart who said a couple of weeks ago, just stop mollycoddling him. He's crap, and that's why things aren't working for him.
Did he?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah.
I think the pressure's really on for Palmer at this race as well, because at Monaco last year he was horrific.
He was out
And
of the. He
he's
was out
gonna
of that
be,
seat.
you don't want to
basically.
be going to Monaco again thinking, oh crap, I'm going to hit the barrier every single time off another bad result.
No, he needs a good result. I think he's been through to Q3. And was it China he went through Q3 or Bahrain? Can't remember.
I think so, but he had a big helping hand, didn't he, by people going out, wasn't there?
Yeah, other
Something.
people were shit rather
Yeah.
than he was amazing.
Yeah. So Joe Poe needs to get his his act together.
Yeah, he's not Joe Poe anymore. He is now Face Palmer.
Yeah, Face Palmer needs to become Joe Poe from the back end of last season.
Yeah, he did improve in the second half of last season.
Well,
But he's got backwards.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not
Well,
carried
I think
on.
the problem is the fact that you've got. Whenever anyone said, "Oh, it takes him 2 seasons to do it," we've basically got a new formula now with all the.
Do we need
error rates.
another 2 seasons?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, he's got another. He'll probably start coming too towards the end of the year.
And then they'll announce Alonso anyway.
Yeah. I'm convinced that's going to happen. Convinced. Sorry. I know we're not talking about McLaren now, but we can tie it into Renault loosely because of that. But McLaren have sort of written off getting Mercedes engines, haven't they, for 2018?
Yeah, they pretty much said it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
and they are going to stick with
So-
stick with
Screw
Honda.
you, Eddie Jordan.
But yeah, Palmer. I mean, he's got 2 13th place finishes. Nah.
Yeah, needs to improve.
I think the problem is, apart from the fact, Nico Hulkenberg is doing Hulkenberg things with the car, he doesn't have a car to turn it round with yet. He needs an update to really work for him. So, which it still could happen. Still early in the
It could
season.
happen. I mean, Cyril Abitaboul,
Yeah.
whose name I always struggle with. He says that they are getting their
Good
clutch
name.
back as a team. That was his actual quote. And I mean, the last few years it's just been lurching from one crisis to another.
Yeah.
And now they need to concentrate on what's going on track. And unfortunately, I think part of concentrating on what's going on track is looking at who's driving that second car.
Yeah.
Because when you've got a driver that's getting into Q3 and somebody who has to push too hard to get out of Q1 and then screws it up in the same car, it's working for one and it's not working for the other.
Yeah, I think the Hulkenberg-Palmer dynamic is kind of similar to Massa and Stroll, but without the added benefit that there's a rookie. Because
Yeah.
he's not a rookie
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. It's a fair comparison.
Yeah, he's in what is effectively his third season in Formula One because he did a full year as Lotus's third driver.
Yeah. I'd argue that comparison can be made with Alonso and Van Dorn as well, but Van Dorn seems to be getting away with it.
Yeah, there was a talk, wasn't there, of Van Dorn being under some pressure, though Boulier straight away said, no, look, he's not under any pressure, we're not giving him the car to perform with. So,
Well, given the fact that everything Eric Boulier's ever said is a lie.
right, there is that.
Include not even Eric Boulier.
including the admission that he was lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he was telling the truth.
My name's not Eric Boulier at all. My name is Steve Black.
But I think we're going to see a 50-50 split with Renault again. Hulk's going to do well, and I think we're going to see Palmer struggling. And if we do see Palmer coming good, it's going to be later on in the year.
It would be nice to see him have a clean race and then like clean qualifying, clean like good practice, clean race. Because if he's going to die, let him die with honour. Do you know what I mean? Let him.
You're talking career terms.
Yeah. Let him fucking fall on a sword that at least has been put up properly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not just left against a barrier and he just happened to run into it.
Yeah, but instead of falling on a sword, he's like sort of kneeling on a fork at the minute.
It hurt his knee a little bit.
How do you think Haas are going to do this week?
They're having a topsy-turvy season at the moment, aren't they, Haas?
They're consistently inconsistent.
They can't get both drivers to do the same job on the same circuit.
Yeah. Should we start slagging off K-Mag now? Or-
No,
Yeah.
no. Don't slag off K-Mag now, because when Grosjean doesn't perform, K-Mag does perform.
Does he perform though, or does he just do K-Mag work?
No,
He's just so dull. You
He's
can
massively
easily
dull.
not notice
Yeah,
him for an
albino
entire
frog.
weekend.
Draco Malfoy
Yeah.
with his new slick-back
Basically,
hairstyle.
what you've got there, you've got a team where a guy was fast at one point, but he kept crashing, so Jackie Stewart had to tell him to stop being so fast, so then he stopped being fast.
Yeah.
And you've got a man which shouldn't be in Formula One.
You really don't like K-Mag at all, do you?
It's not, I don't like him, he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be there. Same as Heikki Kovalainen shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, all right.
Grosjean's
Yes.
problem at Russia was constantly.
Ericsson shouldn't fucking be there.
Unfortunately, he owns most of that team now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Ericsson's going nowhere.
Literally.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honda have stepped in now, haven't they? So
Honda money, maybe Japanese driver. We haven't had a Japanese driver in Formula One for ages, have we?
no.
Who was the last
You can
one?
tell that by the lack of carbon
Kobayashi?
fibre.
Mm.
It would have been Kobayashi, I
I
think.
think Kamui Kobayashi.
Yeah.
Caterham 20 something.
Did he
13.
ever give his crowdfunded money back?
Kamui Kobayashi?
Yeah.
No, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think he did.
No, because he crowdfunded a seat, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then didn't get the seat, and quietly Kobayashi went, "Bye then."
No,
We
I
all-
think he's
we
just
all
spent it on like
tried."
holidays and handbags and.
And a super formula
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grosjean's main problem in Russia was he was just bitching about the brakes constantly.
Grosjean became Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's wrong with my car!
No, but no, let's be fair to Grosjean here. For some reason, that fucking Haas is shit with brakes.
Well, they changed brake manufacturers 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, started on one, went to another, went back to the first ones, nothing worked.
Yeah.
And then he kind of didn't complete a lap.
I'd
Yeah.
argue that situation's easier for K-Mag than it is for Grosjean.
Because he doesn't go fast enough to use them.
Doesn't go as quick as doesn't go as quick as Grosjean.
Which is highly likely.
Mm.
But yeah, Grosjean in Russia spent 3 days non-stop whinging. It was like going on holiday with your mum.
But the thing, yeah, he's waited a year and a half.
My mum's a very nice lady.
Yes, she is.
I imagine you've got the only mum that doesn't whinge on holiday.
I don't know, I've never been on holiday with her. Well,
No.
since I was like 7.
Oh, fuck, where are we? Like, K-Mag shit. I forgot. I'm lost.
Grosjean, whinging.
Oh yeah, well he's waited a year and a fucking half to get this fixed. So when they say, right, we're going to have it this weekend, we're going to change brakes, we've got it all sorted, and he goes, fucking great lads, brilliant stuff. I'll see yous. I'll see yous in Russia, and we're going to have a really good time. And then he gets there, and the brakes don't work again. He said, hang on a second.
Well, it wasn't just the brakes. The balance was off.
Yeah. Which is going to happen when you change brake compounds.
It wasn't he wasn't getting the power that he wanted. There wasn't enough grip.
The crash was all Palmer's fault.
Yeah. You know,
Which I think that was 50-50, that accident.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
so did the stewards. No penalties.
Yeah. I blame Palmer to start with, and then I realised he had a Sauber on the outside of him.
Mm.
Palmer had nowhere to go. Grosjean probably shouldn't have had his car there, but
Yeah.
at the same time, wouldn't be a racing driver if he wasn't trying to push hard.
I think Grosjean was lucky with the way it looked on telly, because the way they crashed, it just looked like Palmer had piled into him.
Yeah.
So I think he was lucky the way that it was.
Yeah, because you couldn't actually, from the angle that they showed at first, you couldn't see that there was the Sauber there.
Yeah.
And what the Sauber was doing running at the same pace as a Haas and a Renault, I've got absolutely no bloody idea.
Yeah.
So they must have been going really slowly.
My dad thought it was Grosjean from the word go, but I don't know whether that was some mild sport racism.
I can imagine your dad saying something like that. Should we go for top 3 and heroes and villains?
Yep.
Because I think we've covered everyone now.
Yep.
So who's gonna go first?
I'll go first. Top 3, Vettel to win, Bottas second, and Hamilton third. Hero of the week, Fernando Alonso, again, because I said last race that he would be, and he wasn't.
You're
Villain
gonna present him with the Chris Flood Trophy for turning up, aren't you?
yeah, I am. Villain of the weekend, Lewis Hamilton, and I don't know why. Possibly sneaking third when he shouldn't.
Lewis Hamilton will win the race. Vettel second, Bottas third, or Kimi first. Finn third, sorry. Interchangeable with two Finns. Yeah. Hero, Fernando Alonso, because he'll finish and he'll get points. And if he doesn't, even if he doesn't get points, he'll have his McLaren in Spain somewhere where it shouldn't be for that part of the race.
On a racetrack.
Yeah.
Villain. K-Mag.
Just for having a seat.
Yeah.
Just because he's there.
For getting sunburnt.
I'm going to go for Vettel to win. Hamilton.
Sorry, I've got a new villain.
Go on.
Stroll. Carry on.
Right. Okay. Just because.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, because he'll crash.
Oh,
He's
right.
gonna, and I reckon we might see with that first turn, we might see the first corner incident we've been looking for from him.
I don't think it'll be the first. I think it'll be the second. It'll be where Lewis and Nico took each other off last year.
Third.
Yeah.
Yeah, just after turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I reckon a Vettel win, Hamilton second, and I'm with you. It'll be somebody finish third. Hero.
Finish third first. You must be finished.
Hero. I'm going to say Danny Kvyat because I think we'll get a good performance out of him for some reason. And villain of the week.
Lots of laughing.
Ever the optimist. Villain of the week. Seeing as we had Eddie Jordan doing the podium last week in
God.
Russia.
Oh no, I know.
Villain
what
of the
you're gonna
week, Kai
No.
fucking Abel.
say. No.
Just for being there.
Well, he's always there.
Yeah, but he's going to be there.
Because we're going to hear from him.
Because we're going to hear him and see the trousers.
How many times do you think he says to people when someone says, like, are you ready? I'm willing and able.
Oh no.
Every time someone says it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his catchphrase.
Yes, I imagine so.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, I will go for the Vettel win, Hamilton second. I was also going to say a Finn, but since everyone else has gone for a Finn, I'm going to go for a bit different, and I'm going to say Verstappen.
Ooh.
If the Red Bull upgrade is as good as it might be. Hero, I think I'm going to go for Ocon. I think
Good-
he's
good shout.
due
Good call,
he's
actually.
due the Top Force India drive at some point.
Mm.
It has been Perez mainly so far, slightly ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
Villain, I can see another Palmer incident. I can just see him wiping a pile of people out in a corner.
Yes. Namely the first one, perhaps.
Possibly. Any of them, they're all good.
Yeah, Palmer and Stroll bounce off each other and take out half the field.
Yeah, that sounds plausible.
It does.
So send us your suggestions. You know how to get in touch. We'll give you all the details at the end. What do we have next on the order? Guitar time.
Oh, is it already?
Already. So Lee, you have had one sent this week.
What?
You've had a total shunt sent through this
Oh,
week.
I'm going through the back catalogue of Shunt.
Right.
So yeah, I need more actually. I've got a couple in there. One's only got 7 questions. You know you are. Find some more for me. And there's one that's really difficult.
God forbid you have to do some work on your own feature.
I know. Listen, I built this baby, and now it's a ship that drives itself.
You are the Eric Boulier of this podcast, are you, with a statement like that?
See, but then when it fails, it's not my fault. Silly listeners. Yeah, and there's another one which is so hard. I almost feel unfair doing it, and I think it might be a good one for a quiet podcast when there's nothing else, and we can just have a bonus Shunt.
Or when Sean's on again.
Yes.
Because Sean does know everything.
Even though I beat him at Who's a Total Shunt. Sorry, that is my proudest achievement. I got my answer in before
Pull
him.
your fucking jumper down.
Right, Sonic Death Monkey T-shirt.
I don't want to see your Sonic Death Monkey.
No one wants to see that. My seat is all out of position. Right, because tomorrow is the 8th of May, this is Total Shunt time. If you like to gamble, I tell you I'm your man. You win some or lose some, but you're all a total shunt. That'll do. No.
Well, I never knew Lemmy was from Accrington.
I still think Radiohead's still my favourite.
So far.
Yeah. Anyway,
shunting time.
are we ready?
People can send in more suggestions for that as well, because I'm nearly out of,
Yeah.
of total shunt what to do theme tune suggestions.
Yeah. You haven't got the things up.
No, I will tell you what. I will close this laptop.
Does that destroy the planet?
What if I close the laptop?
We're
Yes.
not sure yet.
Well, we haven't been streaming on YouTube for the last hour.
Right. You haven't or have?
Haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one's not going on YouTube.
Fair enough.
Lee's internet broke.
Strange, isn't it? Anyway, right. I was born in 1949.
1949, so that would make
Okay.
That would make them
68.
68 this year.
Is it Paul? Sorry.
Right, 68.
I raced for 4 seasons in Formula One.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
1968, 1949. So, 868, you'd be looking probably driving Formula One in the 80s, 70s, 80s.
70s, you would think.
I've got a vague idea, but we'll go for a third.
I had 2 podiums and 1 pole position in 42 races.
Okay, that buggers up my thought that it's Mario Andretti.
Someone very average.
2 podiums and 1 pole position.
Yes.
In 4 seasons of Formula One, 2
Yeah.
podiums and 1 pole position.
Two podiums away from Hulkenberg deciding he's had a fantastic career.
Yes.
That is.
Got to give a guess now, haven't we?
Yeah.
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 So it's somebody old who was average.
Yeah.
Born and when? 1949.
So they would be in their late 60s currently.
Yeah. How old? Jackie X won races, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Thierry Boutsen won races.
Is he that old? I suppose he would be around about that time.
Would he be? Well, he raced up until about 1990, didn't he? So he's probably not as old as.
Oh yeah, he kept turning up, and everyone thought, "No, he must be done by now." Like,
Well,
oh, look, he's back
didn't
again.
he race in 95 as well?
Thierry Boutsen.
Yeah.
Did he? He come back from a race in
Do you-
95.
The only reason I remember that is because I remember the Formula One PlayStation commentary with Murray Walker going, "It's Boutsen!"
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to go for a guess, but
Somebody from
I've
the
got
70s,
nothing.
early 80s.
70s, early 80s. I'll throw one in.
Go on.
Are you Eddie Cheever?
I am not Eddie Cheever.
Oh, fair enough though. That's a fair guess.
I'm pretty much an under Eddie Cheever.
Are you Mrs. Cheap? No.
Sometimes I like more cheaper.
Sing them live.
What's the next clue?
My last race was 1977, and it was the South African Grand Prix.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the South African Grand Prix used to be at the start of a season, so it was somebody who.
Are we thinking of perhaps the fatal incidents in the South African Grand Prix?
Yes.
That was around about that time, wasn't it?
It would have been, yes.
So that would be Tom Price.
Yes. Yes.
Or who else was involved in that accident? Who had to retire because of the injuries? There's a marshal. It was the engineer, wasn't it? Who tried to start the car. He died. Tom Price.
Tom Price died, and a marshal, I think, ended up paralysed.
Yeah.
We'll go for another couple of clues, but I think that's.
Should we be looking at Tom Price for now? Do we
It
think?
sounds most logical.
Looking at the favourite guess for the minute.
I raced for Tolkien, not one of my favourite authors, and Shadow.
I don't know what Tom Price was driving when he crashed, but it would tie in at the moment with what.
Yeah.
I don't even remember those teams. Never heard of them in my life.
Graham Hill drove for Shadow.
Did he?
Yeah, I remember hearing a Shadow, but
I remember the Gladiator.
yeah, Shadow the Gladiator.
I raced in Formula 5000, Formula 3, and Formula 2.
Just somebody with a bit of a racing background.
Racing
Yeah.
background.
I think I want
Yeah.
to answer now, don't I?
Is that 6?
That's 7.
That's 7, is it?
I thought that was only
Oh,
6.
no,
Oh,
no,
that was
6.
6, I
Sorry,
think.
sorry, 6.
Should we go with Tom
Go
Price?
with Tom Price.
Yeah.
Are you Tom Price?
I am Tom Price.
Yeah.
Ah, very good.
Well done.
Got it.
If I'd have realised, because I hadn't read the questions before we start, or I read them ages ago, and I hadn't read them again.
What's the rest of the clues?
Well, the number 7 was, I won a non-championship event at Brands Hatch in 1975.
Race of Champions by any chance?
No idea.
I think that was the usual one at Brands Hatch, the International Race of Champions.
I'm the only Welshman to lead a Grand Prix.
Welshman to lead the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I scored points in my 5th race.
Only because Nico Rosberg couldn't get his Welsh citizenship in time.
That was such a shame. There's when I was in Germany, I went to a place called Aachen. I can't pronounce it properly.
Aachen?
Yes, that's the one.
AACHEN.
Yeah.
Twin town of Halifax, where I used to live.
Is
That's
it
the only
really?
reason I can pronounce that.
That's
Yeah.
cool. But there's like a 3 corners thing there where it's Belgium, Germany, and Holland meet.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. And we were going to go there, but it was like 2 hours away from where we were. And it was a shame because I could have stood in the middle and done a full-on Nico.
Just stood in the middle of it and played the Rosbergian national anthem.
Literally, as the Rosbergian anthem goes, the world slowly stops.
Yeah.
I scored points. And then the last question, strangely, which is kind of the same as the 4th, I died in Kyalami in South Africa.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
it was a
accident.
terrible accident. Shouldn't have happened. But yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Who sent that one in?
That was Ryan Large.
Oh, thank you for that one, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
His name sounds like Cockney rhyming slang.
It does a little bit.
Does it?
Right, we'll move on to Formula Lee.
If Cockney rhyming slang ever needed 2 words for like by and large,
Yeah.
that would be it.
Ryan
wouldn't it?
Large, yeah.
No, because you've got the word large in there, and you can never have the same word.
Yeah.
So
Rubbish barge.
By and large, yeah, rubbish barge.
Yeah,
or,
not that you're rubbish, Ryan.
yeah, Homer and Marge
Yeah.
Margarine, wouldn't it be? Passes the Ryan Large.
passes the Marge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand Cockneys full stop. If we've got any Cockneys listening, I am very sorry that you had to live in London. Formula Lee. Got a bit of an apology to make after we read out the times on last week's show because...
There was some mist.
Did it fall apart when I wasn't there?
A little bit.
yes, because Facebook Messenger was playing up and 2 people...
Race driver excuses.
No, two people had sent in times that Facebook Messenger didn't actually show until after the race, but they'd been sent in 2 days before.
Yeah. And they were point scorers
And they
as
were
well.
point scorers as well, and there was one that came in just on the cut-off, and I checked the timestamp, and it was like 1 minute to 6
Yeah.
when it was sent, and again that came in late as well. So there was actually 13 point scorers in the end.
Are we changing it to 7 o'clock though,
No,
aren't we,
there's
for
not
this week?
13 point scorers.
Yeah, there is, because we'd already read out the points.
No.
So,
No.
Lee.
They've all got the same amount of points. It's fine.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
no,
like this.
so
This is no.
there are 2 drivers with 8 points, 2 drivers
Hope
with
you're
2
proud of
points, and 2
yourselves.
drivers with 1 point. Tell you what, if you want to change it, you start running the spreadsheets, and you have to use Microsoft Office.
I don't want to.
And
I use Pages, thank you very much.
In that case, yeah, leave it with me. So apologies to Chris Rowden, who did get 8 points for his time. Luke Sipovicius.
Good name.
I was waiting for comments on the name.
I've got nothing funny to say, so
yeah.
I'll stay quiet.
2 points there, and Patrick Daly as well, who gets a point. But we have changed it this week, and the cut-off is now at 7 o'clock on Monday the 15th for a lap in Spain,
Yep.
in a McLaren,
Yep.
in the morning,
Yep.
in the dry.
Yep.
Times that we're looking at the moment, we've had a few in. Just want to say to Bradley Chambers, at least give it 24 hours before you start saying, how's my time look? And then if you're going to send something in and say, how does this time compare? Send the photo. Because it got stuck in his phone and it carried on tweeting for half an hour.
Technology, eh, Bradley?
So you're looking at the low 122s for points, I reckon.
I haven't
Low
done that yet.
122s for points.
Yeah.
Not that far off then.
Where are you, Flood?
122.9 at the moment.
Yeah, I'm about.
Because I usually find myself around you somewhere.
Yeah, I'm about 2 seconds off that at the minute, but I've only had a couple of laps.
Did you not get one of your laps sabotaged by a cat as
Yeah,
well?
I was actually a second up on my best time, and I thought, yeah, I'm finding the rhythm, I'm getting the right lines, I'm gonna get into the 123s, and then Dizzy jumped on my lap and knocked the controller out of my hand.
Bastard.
Stuck me in a wall, and I lost 9 seconds.
One of my cats would be mounted by now if that would happen.
Don't know what you do with your cats in your spare time.
Sexy.
No. So, yeah, you've got until Monday the 15th to get your times into us for this Formula League challenge. Of course, there is still the £10 or equivalent prize for the winner from our friend David Foley at Ultraflix. And you're playing for the £40 Amazon voucher from Niall Slim Drew at the end of the season.
Yeah.
If any other companies want to sponsor extra prizes for Formula League, get in touch. Because I've had a couple of tweets saying, are there going to be any extra prizes? Like, well, if people want to donate them, yay.
Yeah, of course. And if there are any new listeners who are unaware about what we're talking about with Formula League, F1 2016 Codemasters version on the PS4, Xbox or PC.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lap as described by Paul just before, using the car and the conditions as set out by Lee. And then it's like a time trial event. You do time trial, and you must send us a photo of your time with the date and the car into us, and then we put you on the leaderboard, and the top 10 fastest times wins points.
Yeah. We have found out why playing on the iOS version isn't very good for it.
Because it's on a phone.
Because it's on a phone, and Zane sent 2 tweets a couple of minutes apart. One saying, why don't you include the iOS version in this? And then sent a tweet with his screen grab from the iOS version of Russia, which was 5 seconds faster a lap than the PC, PlayStation, and Xbox version. Yeah,
Realistic then.
Yeah, so it's that realistic. It does a lap that was, I think it was 138 to win a prize, to win a point. 138, and on the phone you do it in about 133. So that's why iOS isn't included.
Yeah.
Something that isn't on the running order that we've forgotten about for the last couple of podcasts that we did mention is something that we're going to do as soon as the Alonso announcement was made, which is, what the hell is the Indy 500?
Yeah, we forgot to do that.
We forgot to do that, but I suppose we'll have to explain what the Indy 500 is.
Go on then, Paul.
It's a 500-mile race around a 2.5 mile oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
It's not specifically run by IndyCar. It's run by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway themselves, and it's part of the IndyCar Championship.
Oh, it is part of the championship.
The points count towards the IndyCar standings, but IndyCar don't run it themselves, and the whoever's taken over from Tony George.
So this is the same as like when the Alaman TT used to be part of the World Motorbike Championship.
Kinda, yeah.
Similar deal, I think.
Yeah. But they have a bigger field than other races, because I think most IndyCar races, I think
you get a wild card.
There's wild card entries, and in the Indy 500 you can have up to 33 cars qualifying. But
Did Chilton get the mild card?
But I think they get up to about 45 entrants, because there's some drivers that only enter this race out of the whole season. Yeah. There's some American drivers that don't race in anything else that just do it.
Oh, right.
One notable one from the 90s was the chap called Dick Trickle.
Oh dear. Yeah, Dan Weldon, when he won it a couple of years ago, he wasn't in the series at that time. He entered it as a
one-off, and then went and won.
Wow.
So you do get drivers that just go into it, because I think there's been people that have been competing in NASCAR all season.
And they do the Indy 500.
And they do the Indy 500.
I think some of the Indy Lights drivers sometimes get a wild card as well, if they can qualify.
We should invest all our Patreon money in Alonso for that one race.
Yeah, because what was he called? The guy from the Isle of Man. Alex Lloyd. He was driving in Indy Lights, but he got an entry into the Indy 500. So it's down to the teams who they put in, not having to register for the championships under whatever the Indy equivalent of the Concord Agreement is.
He also raced in A1GP, didn't he?
He did.
Yes.
Nobody raced in A1GP. They just crawled round.
Yeah, the country's World Cup of Motorsport, whatever it was
Yeah.
called. Yeah, he was the second British driver, wasn't he? He only raced like one race. That's that series, I think.
Who was the other British driver? You see how much of an
Stunned
impression that's made on
silence.
us. I remember going to the pub, Lee, with you.
Yeah, we watched it.
We watched the first race and we both said, that's an hour we'll never get back.
Yeah, it was awful. It was like, I mean, part of the great thing about Formula One and motorsport in general is that like that human struggle with, you know, machinery, man, racing each other. Great. What they managed to do was take the whole human element out of motor racing.
Oh, it was just absolutely atrocious. Although, what is it, the Formula Champions League or whatever it was, where all the
Football teams.
all the cars were sponsored by football teams.
Oh, no.
So you had
Wow.
like a duel for pole position between Juventus and Leeds United. That was yeah.
I'm just googling now the race drivers for A1 Team Great Britain. Danny Watts and Dan Clark, it tells me here. Although I don't think that's correct. There must have been somebody else.
Yeah,
Robbie Kerr.
Robbie Kerr,
That was
Darren
Robbie
Manning,
Kerr.
Catherine Legg.
And
Oh, she turns
Oliver
up
Jarvis.
in IndyCar every now and then.
She'd have done quite well if she had two legs. My G hasn't stopped Zanardi. No. What?
Yeah, okay, we'll give you that. But
Billy
yeah,
Munger says he's getting back into racing as soon as he can as well.
Good stuff.
It was his birthday on Friday
It
as
was,
well.
yeah,
His
it was-
18th
it was
birthday.
18.
Happy 18th, Billy Munger.
yeah. Apparently the staff at the hospital set a projector up so that he could watch the Russian Grand Prix, and nobody had told him that all the teams had put his hashtag all over their cars, and
wow.
he was a bit stunned at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you see that? The sheet of paper, the book that he got signed by all the Formula One drivers and various ex-Formula
I
One
saw that.
drivers. It had people like Martin Brundle, all the current drivers. Also Martin Brundle had signed it as well, and David Coulthard, a few other ex-drivers who just happened to be hanging around the circuit at the time all signed this book for him as well.
Williams auctioned off, I think it was Massa's overalls and Stroll's boots from Russia on eBay, and I think it went for about $7,000 or something along
That
those
went straight
lines.
to his-
And that goes straight to his fund.
Awesome.
They didn't get a buyer for Stroll.
Yeah, I think people were bidding on the Massa stuff and the
Excuse
Stroll
me,
stuff
Lance
just
Stroll,
turned
you're
up.
paying how much for that Williams seat? Cough up a little bit extra for the racing driver who's struggling.
Yeah,
will you?
at least sign the boots.
Yes.
Yeah, we did have a question. This ties in nicely with the mailbag, actually, from, if I can find it, which I can't find who it was, but it was how do British viewers watch the Indy 500?
Television.
BT Sport
Oh.
at the moment.
Yes, and also you can keep up with it if we're going to be doing a live blog.
We are also going to be doing a live blog. IndyCar also stream practice and qualifying sessions on YouTube and Periscope, which is how everyone got to watch the Alonso private test the other day. Because at one point there was 500,000 people watching what is effectively a private testing session on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they even got presenters and analysts in while they were doing it. A lot more open
America
than
hate television sport, don't they?
oh yeah, a lot more open than F1 has ever been.
Yeah. Just a shame it's boring.
Oh, it was Ed Forsyth. How do you get to watch it? I think
Ed Staban.
Ed Staban Forsyth. He wants to find out who's coming 11th.
Right. Does it go on for hours?
It goes on for about 3 hours. It starts.
You're approximately looking around about 220 laps then.
It's 2.5 mile circuit, so it's 200 laps.
200 laps.
Yeah, for 500 miles.
Oh, God of IndyCar.
No, God of Wikipedia.
Does it clash at all with Monaco?
No,
Right.
apart from the fact it's on the same
5
day.
o'clock, isn't it?
20 past
approximately?
5.
Oh,
Because they've got
because that's normal.
Because, well, yeah, they've got all the ceremonial stuff to do.
Oh, that's good. So it's not like WWE o'clock in the morning.
No, it's 20 past 5, so it'll be finished by 20 past 8, which is just as well because I'm on stage at like 10:30 that night.
Ah.
So we will be doing the live blog.
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to get sort of an evening off before my gig.
Nah.
Apparently it's going to be shut the laptop, grab the guitar and run, just like it has been for the last 2 years.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having an interest in it.
Yeah, there's a few ex-F1 drivers taking part.
Yeah, no, but there's never been a...
There isn't a current F1
Yeah,
driver.
so like, so for instance, say if Jensen had gone to IndyCar,
Yeah.
I'd have probably started watching IndyCar. You know, it's just...
Probably.
Definitely. Twitch, Jensen tweeted up something that was very similar to something we said on the podcast, didn't he?
Looking forward to his former teammate turning left.
Yeah, yeah.
Endlessly.
It sounds like he's a listener.
If you are a listener, Jensen, I love you, miss you, bye. But
You put the phone down first.
No, you go first. No, you go first.
But it'd be
he's gone.
it'd be nice watching an IndyCar race where I can be bothered watching it. But I'm not gonna lie, if Alonso goes out, I'll probably go out.
You'll go to where I'm doing that charity gig. No, you've got to pay to get in. There's no chance of that happening.
I fucking hate that charity gig. I hate
Just-
charity.
I hate charity. Fair enough. We've just
Going around
Anyway.
spending my time, my money, making other people happy.
let's
not
spitball
my
live.
job.
Spitballing live on the podcast here. What do we reckon the interest is in doing something for TT on the podcast? As in
I think we probably should.
with the addition this year of course Facebook Live videos, which stay on Facebook and things like that. There's no reason why.
There's nothing to stop us from wandering around the paddock because the paddocks are completely open to
Yeah.
everyone wandering
Yeah.
around the paddock and putting Facebook Live videos up.
Absolutely.
So, it's a big motorsport event. It's happening
is.
practically in our back garden.
We know that there's going to be at least one Formula One person or ex-Formula One personality there.
Yeah, because Mark Webber has said he's coming over. He's coming over for the actual practice week.
Yes, I don't know whether
This is
he
unusual. He's usually the middle weekend, isn't he?
Yeah, he usually comes for the first race on the Saturday. And
wonder if he's here for the whole 2 weeks.
if he is, we will track him down.
Yes, we will. We had Toto Wolff here. Was that last year?
That was last year.
His
he
his
started a race.
father-in-law runs a team.
We could kidnap his dogs.
His father-in-law, as in
Yeah,
Mr.
Susie
Wolff's
Stoddart.
Big dog
Susie
owner.
Wolff's dad runs
So
a
we
team.
could go to his house
Ah.
in England, kidnap his dogs, and blackmail him for interviews.
This is escalated a little from just
yeah.
stalking people around a paddock.
I think we'll just carry on stalking.
Sorry, like stalking people to stealing their pets. It's only a slight step.
No, Lee.
No,
no, Lee.
It's a slight
Right.
step.
So-
baby step.
Listeners will put it.
WTF.
Listeners will put it down to you. If you want us to do some stuff for the Isle of Man TT, which is the 2 week long biggest motorsport event,
Yeah.
in the world, basically, for going on for 2 weeks.
And if you're not sure, ask us, and we can give you a what is the Isle of Man TT next week.
Absolutely, we will do. So yeah, let us know through which channels, Paul.
Right, well, you can get in touch through Facebook. We're on there, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. We're also on Twitter, @3legs4wheels, or
I'm at a total shunt.
At Flood21.
At Sean Cowper.
and @Pablo100. And Dan's not here, but @Danbert.
Yeah.
You can email us on 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Drop us a message on Facebook, send us a PM on Twitter. That's where to send your Formula Lee times in as well.
In fact, some people got my Facebook account, and I hate Facebook, so I'm going to try and I'm trying to shave Facebook down as much as I possibly can.
You don't shave your face.
Because I need it for work, and I obviously need to go on for our podcast stuff as well. So if you're going to get in touch with me, get in touch with me on Twitter, and if during the next culling of people that I don't speak to on a day-to-day basis on Facebook, if you all of a sudden find yourself not on Facebook with me, it's not personal, I just don't want to use it anymore.
That's fair enough.
Fine.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to delete people and then go, fucking hell, Lee is a cunt. I mean,
They knew that.
I think they
anyway.
knew what they were getting
But
themselves
I
into.
don't think they think I'm an ignorant cunt.
Ah, right. Okay. Just a completely different kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Special.
Going on to a couple of messages that we have got so far and a couple of comments. Phil Totti wants to know, how has Lewis's hair transplant escaped hair conversation?
We did talk about it in earlier podcasts. I'm talking like 80 podcasts ago,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, he was almost bald in like 2009, and then he came back in 2010, 2011, whenever it was, and his hair was fixed.
I'd never noticed this, and I know you said he had a high hairline, but he's also had like a shaved rapper hairline quite a lot too.
Yeah, but there's now
I'm gonna
there's
find
now
a
hair
photo
growing
for
out
you.
of areas where it wasn't growing when he had it cut
But
short.
that's the thing, but I'm not convinced that when it was cut short, it wasn't actually cut and shaved. That wasn't on purpose.
Could have been out of a spray can.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just that hair loss is sort of genetic, and you look at his dad, and his dad's bald.
This is true. But I
Um,
mean, is his dad bald, or did he just think he looks better bald?
Well, no, his dad's got the middle-aged man horseshoe.
Steve Austin isn't bald.
No, but Lewis's dad has. Nobody looks good with the middle-aged man horseshoe, where it's just around the sides and there's nothing on top. You wouldn't
His
do
head
that
is
deliberately.
shiny as well. That's always
Yeah.
a good indicator.
Patrick Stewart.
Went bald at 23.
Yeah, but you said nobody looks good.
Nobody would do it deliberately.
There you go. I just pulled up a photo that sort of shows Lewis Hamilton was
Yeah, that's a bad
definitely
look,
losing
innit?
He
his
looks
hair.
like Gollum there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was,
Lewis Hamilton has definitely gone full Rooney.
Yeah.
he's got on the Rooney, and now he's got hair back on top of his head. I'm not sure. This is actually on a hair loss forum.
Is it really?
Yeah, hairlosstalk.com. So yeah, and time for Lewis Hamilton to come home.
I'm pleading with our listeners now. Obviously,
What if you get up close to Lewis, get a photo of the join
well, yes, definitely. Yeah, obviously,
or the washing instructions?
But if you get to the point where you're losing your hair, it doesn't matter. Don't spend your time going to fucking hairloss.com.
You would think as well, just practically wearing a helmet when you've had
Exactly,
the
that's gonna-
massive incision
yeah.
at the back of your head and then it all plugged back in around the front. That's going to be painful and
Look at Hulk
risk of
Hogan,
massive infection.
Look at Hulk Hogan, what bandanas did to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was already going that way when he
I
put
don't think the
bandanas on.
bandanas helped.
No, probably not.
Well, tension alopecia is a thing. If you scrape your hair back or tie it down or tie it back, it's a male condition. It does actually pull your hair out, and the reason that I'm receding is because I spent a lot of time with ponytails when I was younger, which is why I try to avoid tying my hair back as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because it is genuinely a thing, and you can force yourself to go bald by having your hair scraped heavily back if you're a bloke.
Oh, wow. You every day's a school
So
day.
there you go,
Yeah.
K-Mag. Don't
In-
stop scraping your hair back.
In a few years, the man bun brigade are going to be in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah.
Ugh, the fucking top knot cunts. Gee, there's nothing more ridiculous than a top knot.
Why you want hair like a sumo wrestler, I have no idea. Because they are blokes that spend their time eating stew and wearing
No,
nappies.
it looks like you expect people to keep biscuits in your head.
What?
Yeah. It looks like the handle from a biscuit barrel.
Yeah. Come here, Dave. I want a bourbon.
Nobody wants a bourbon. You just
It's usually the least objectionable option,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Bourbons are good. Bourbons
No,
are
they're
a good
all right,
biscuit.
but they're not the best.
Oh, they're good.
Yeah, I
They
do.
would never be my first choice of
Bourbons
biscuit.
and custard creams. Before we had massive like companies making crazy biscuits with caramel in, they were the boys.
no. Your bog standard chocolate biscuit. That just wins over a bourbon every
See,
time.
a bog standard digester with no chocolate on is the way forward.
No, because then
No.
then you put cheese on it.
Yeah, of course. You try putting cheese and butter on a fucking chocolate one, it's minging.
No, you try putting cheese and butter on a chocolate digestive and...
Oh, come on, let's
You do
move
it in
away
a-
from the talk of the
You do it in an
biscuits.
artisanal cafe on a Hessian plate. What else have we
I
got?
think you might be right, Chris. I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Good God.
Oh, crumbs.
Yeah, Doug in Detroit, regular listener.
Hello, Doug in
And,
Detroit.
regular contributor to this podcast and Three Legs Fourth Down as well.
Hands up for Detroit.
The Indy car is as ugly as crap. F1 in danger of creating ugly cars so casual fans can identify the teams and drivers? I don't think so, but one thing
there is a thing in Spain, though, isn't there,
of
which we've
course for
spoken
Spain,
about.
names, abbreviations and bigger numbers are going to be appearing on the cars.
Yeah, so the last time we saw the cars looking like they will look was Russia.
Yeah.
As I said before, I think I put it on the Facebook page. I don't think Red Bull have really got room on their car to put Ricardo or Verstappen in big letters
Yeah,
down
it's,
the
I
side.
think it's gonna be the three-letter-
Yeah, it's a
three-letter
three-letter-
tower abbreviation.
I'd
Yeah.
also point out that the reason Indy cars look a bit naff is because they're all the same aero-wise.
They're the same chassis, exactly the same.
The actual car looks cool.
The colour scheme looks good.
No, the car, the actual shape of the car looks good. But the fact that they're all the same, it's a bit boring. If you had a Formula One which produced similar cars to what Indy cars are, but you had all the nuances and differences that go between the teams, I think it look fucking great.
Yeah, but I'm up for this whole better identification thing, Because I remember a few years ago when Vettel spun out in Abu Dhabi, when I think it was the year he'd already won the championship, so it didn't matter. When he spun out, I remember sitting there going, it's a Toro Rosso. No, that's a Red Bull. It looks like Webber. It was only a few seconds later, I was like, oh no, it's Vettel. I was like, Vettel. so whereas if you saw the big number, now, like if a Red Bull spins off, Red
I
Bull
don't
and
think
Toro.
it hurts, to be honest.
No,
they
unless
do
you're
a bit of
shit
difference.
hot on helmet designs and the coloured bar,
exactly.
you've
So-
got no hope.
I do
If
observe a
on the
helmet.
side of if on the side of the car just behind where the driver's head is, it says Rick 3, and then all of a sudden it stopped at the side of the track. As soon as it cuts to it, you're like, oh no, someone's happened to Danny Rick.
Yeah.
Danny Ricciardo, he's out of the race or something.
Yeah.
You're
It's
not-
Verstappen. No, you're stupid.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm all for easier identification. Not sure about the LED boards that they use in various sports to show the positions as well as the number.
I don't think it matters.
No, that's mainly for the fans at the track, isn't it?
I mean,
But-
MotoGP's difficult to tell the riders apart sometimes, and the motorsport in general. I don't think anyone out there is going, I won't watch Formula One because I don't know who anyone is.
Yeah.
It's not a problem Formula One needs to fix. If it fixes something for some people, then great.
I mean, casual
But, yeah,
fans.
it doesn't matter either way. But if they do it, then it's not going to do anything negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like new fans to the sport will probably be asking, well, why are there two cars for
Young
each,
fans
for
as
each
well.
team? Yeah, that helps them
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. Like I say, I don't think it matters too much. So if they do it and it helps some people, then
From a selfish point of view, it'll help us doing the blog.
Yes.
When you've got one eye on a computer and one eye on the TV,
yeah.
then
Well,
definitely.
is that Perez getting really close to Stroll there? No, it's Ocon, right? Excellent.
Well, it's particularly hard with Force India because they now both have
Pink
corporate pink
helmets.
helmets.
Yeah.
Got one on Twitter from Dave Roebuck. Again, another regular
Hi,
listener
Dave.
and contributor. Percentage chance that Kimi wins the race this season. # predict me do.
I think Kimi can win a race this year.
He's got the equipment to do it, but the problem is the way he's going. Unless he really steps it up, he needs to have a good day, and he also needs other people to have bad days.
He needs stuff to go in his favour,
Yeah.
definitely. I think you've got to assume at some point Vettel's probably going to have a mechanical
DNF or
issue.
something,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what will give Kimi the best chance of winning something.
But
Well,
that has to come at a time where
Well-
it's at a Ferrari circuit.
Yeah, where the car is good for Kimi, because when that car isn't good for Kimi, he lets you know about it.
Yeah.
So basically, he's having a Spa,
Yeah,
A wet race.
wet race in Spa.
a wet Spa, and Vettel has a lousy qualifying session.
So yeah, there's every possibility.
And there's always a possibility of it pissing it down at Spa anyway, so...
It depends how deep he gets into the season before that happens, because if Vettel's still on the track, even if Kimi's having a better day than Vettel, he might get
Number 2.
Sebastian is faster than you.
Could you imagine Kimi actually pulling over?
Yes,
or-
because I don't think he wants to leave Formula One. I don't think he's doing enough to keep his seat.
I'm sure.
I think he'd be quite happy to stay in Formula One with Ferrari right now as a number 2 driver anyway.
But let's see later on in the season if they do decide to retain Kimi Raikkonen, because Ferrari like to announce their drivers early.
They're
Yeah.
usually well organised.
Well, it's the big surprise has been late in the last 2 years when it's been Kimi again.
Yeah, and Kimi wants more years in Formula One. He's got 2 young children at home, and he doesn't want to go home until they're old enough to drink.
You make a very valid point. To finish your vodka, first you've got to be finished.
I suppose old enough to drink, which in Finland is probably like 8.
I think that I don't think there's an age. I just think they give you a test.
I love that. You have the same written exam.
Yeah, yeah. If you can write, you've not drunk enough.
Which is why in Finland you have to spend at least 2 years passing your driving test to make sure you're not drunk.
I read somewhere in Russia that you can drive in Russia as long as you don't surpass 20 miles an hour. There's like a speed restriction on drink driving.
This is why on all these fail videos you always see
It's always a
Russian
pissed
car
up Russian.
crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually ram raiding off licenses. We're digressing too much. Thanks everyone for listening again, as always. Thank you to everyone that's donated on Patreon. Just want to give a shout out to Patrick and Pete, who are our 2 latest patrons.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. You can get an extra podcast that we do every week for our Patreon subscribers by going to patreon.com/3legs4wheels.
Go listen to it, you bought it.
I can't remember what this week's is about. It was
funny.
It was funny.
I told holiday stories.
It's about Lee's trip to Germany and
Yeah.
what we've all been up to this last week. And
I do remember. I was only saying it for comedy.
yeah.
Yeah. And next week's will be full of Manchester and Iron Maiden. Well, from me anyway. 'Cause that's what I'm off to do. Well, me and Sean are off to do tomorrow.
Yep.
Don't know whether Sean will be here next week. It depends on who else is not turning up. Or Dan, or is he being a secret agent or something?
Possibly.
Or racist.
No, he's not.
He's not a bassist, he plays guitar quite clearly.
Because Lee is a massive bassist.
Yes.
And we'll be back next week.
Normal time.
Normal time. Hopefully we'll get the YouTube problems fixed so we'll be able to live stream.
Sorry about that,
Yeah,
people
sorry.
who were watching on YouTube.
But the internet decided it wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
So until next week, we will see you later.
Ta-ta.
Bye.
Bye-bye.